So warm welcome to all of you for this World Standards Day celebrations, which is organized by two consultants forums, which is Consultants Consortium of Chennai and Management Systems Consultants Consortium. Association CCC is what we call it as shortly, is more than 5 years old, and MSCC is almost about less than a year old or about a year old. We all come from a domain called like management systems, which has got linkages with standards and various certifications and regulations across the globe. And these are not-for-profit organizations, and we do create marketplace conversations regularly on a wide range of topics, especially on key days like this, World Standards Day, World Accreditation Day, World Quality Month. Like this, we keep conducting a lot of conversations. And World Standards Day this year, the theme actually for, we call it as WSD in short. The theme over the last few years is actually on sustainability, how the sustainability is going to kind of create a sustainable environment across the globe. So every year the theme keeps changing, and this year's theme is actually about establishing a strong linkages and connect between innovations, industry, and infrastructure using AI. And it's about building, developing a resilient growth and sustainable infrastructure and cutting edge innovations. So we are all listening to AI on a daily basis everywhere. There is a positive side and there is a negative side of the AI also we are seeing at the marketplace. So we have created a conversation today on this topic, how the AI is going to drive the global trade and commerce, working jointly where the innovators are going to make AI as part of their innovations, and industry has to adopt AI into its routine day-to-day operations, and how we are going to create a strong deep tech cutting edge or I call it as a sustainable infrastructure in the marketplace for this deep tech to happen and take place. So there are three dimensions that we have brought in today's conversation. First is always academia, which is leading in all these initiatives, and it is the academia which is driving this cutting edge innovations, and it is the academia which is driving the deep tech across the world, especially in the sustainability and the circularity space. Followed by, we have our standards and certifications organizations or the regulatory bodies who are going to kind of develop various standards for all those innovations and for all those technologies which are being developed on the various forums. And their role in ensuring that the assurances that they are offering in the name of validations or verifications, testing, whatever you call it as inspections, has to be responsible. And then followed by representation from the industry about the kind of AI-led initiatives that industry is working upon, and what kind of structures that they are building internally to adapt all these things. And the final session today is always our startup conversation, because no industrial growth or no sustainability is possible without having the smart innovations on the deep tech innovations and responsible innovations from the young entrepreneurs and startups or the innovators. So today the whole session is actually built around this. The stakeholders will be multiple. I mean, all the delegates will be a mix. They will be from industry, from innovators, and from academia, and also from consultants. So it's a multi-stakeholder conversation. So with this note, I just wanted to start off today's session. And the focus is actually more about building trust in the AI, and how do we ensure that all the stakeholders act with a lot of responsibility. How are we going to address the ethical side of this AI interventions, and then, and how we are all collectively, we have to work towards building a responsible ecosystem. So that is the whole focus. So with that note, let me just extend my warm welcome to all the speakers who are joining us today and all the delegates. We will have participants joining, and generally what we also do is all the sessions are recorded. We upload in our YouTube channel, and we also send it to the delegates. Sometimes, often they all register because they're all working during the working hours. They cannot participate in these conversations, but they always make it a practice to visit the videos. They can look at the recordings later, and because they wanted to understand. This is how, even from morning, I've got about half a dozen requests asking us to send the recordings as usual because they prefer to watch in the evenings or in the weekends. So today, I would like to start with our. Give me one second. Yeah, the first session today is actually on the role of academia. So we have speaker Dr. Deepti Chuk, uh, uh, who's a senior manager. Aarti, can I have the PPT, please? Yeah. So Dr. Deepti Chuk is a senior manager, biotech and medtech. She's from SIC. We call it as Startup Incubation and Innovation Center, which we call it as SIC, from IIT Kanpur. So she will be talking about the building trust in AI and driving technological innovations using AI for a positive societal impact. Ultimately, the objective is to serve the humanity in a sustainable and ethical way. So there are a lot of innovations are happening at IIT Kanpur all the time, especially even in a deep tech space. The innovators are working on multiple innovations. As an incubation center, they're all grooming them and mentoring them and creating a lot of structures internally. So we really would like to see what kind of AI-led innovations that are happening at SIC and academia. Being an academia, they always carry a lot of responsibility quotient in building that trust and bringing those ethical formats and structures into place. So we would like to hear from you, Dr. Deepti Chuk. Over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, so much for the invitation. And it's my pleasure to represent IIT Kanpur in this forum on World Standards Day. So today I will brief you all to the different innovations that are happening at Startup Incubation and Innovation Center here at IIT Kanpur in the AI domain. So I would restrict myself to the medtech part in the beginning because that's my area of expertise. And then this AI-enabled innovations are not only restricted to the medtech domain, they are widely used in the defense and aerospace domain in IIT Kanpur and many other verticals that we are using. So in the medtech domain, we have multiple startups working in the AI domain. One is Lenec Technologies. So this startup is developing an affordable and AI-enabled handheld X-ray device. This product provides a lightweight and battery-powered tool that can be taken from home to home for tuberculosis detection. So the idea is to have the screening of these chest infections at a wide scale in the remotest areas where you do not have access to the big X-ray machines. So this startup is developing a portable X-ray device that is AI enabled. So this startup is doing very well and has got initial certifications and regulatory approvals and are in the process of deploying their devices in many hospitals. The second one is Medantrik. This startup is developing an AI-developed personalized device which diagnoses COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, and it helps in maintain the record of the patient with the help of a mobile app. So again, this offers more personalized approach to the disease using AI. So these are all the examples where AI is being used for a good societal impact, let's say for the lung infection disorders, as we have discussed so far. The other one is more for personalized medicine. It's Genomic Solutions. This startup is developing a cloud-based AI-enabled genome informatics platform that can provide comprehensive, accurate, and fast interpretation of the patient report data, thus empowering medical decisions. So their solutions enable precise diagnostics and screening, particularly for rare and treatable childhood disorders. So this is like a future of the precision medicine that we are all talking about in healthcare. The one of the startup that is being supported by SIIC at IIT Kanpur is from a fellowship program called SIPSHINE program, which runs between IIT Kanpur and KGMU Lucknow. So this startup is called Brella Innovations. They are developing AI-enabled breast health monitoring device called Nibra, which act like a personal breast health companion. This state-of-the-art device is designed to make breast health monitoring convenient, reliable, and comfortable. So these are some of the startups that I have just briefed you about. They are using an AI component to have a more personalized approach to the better healthcare of the society, having fulfilling the, I think, the Sustainable Development Goal SDG 9, which is the good health and well-being of people. Um, in addition, as I mentioned before, we have many startups in the defense and aerospace domains. For example, one startup is working towards developing drones. We're using AI component, and then that company helps in distributing medicines to the remotest areas of the country, and many more innovations that are happening in the AI domain in a positive direction. So I'll be happy to take up the questions if anything is there in this domain. So, ma'am, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Deepti. Now, there's very interesting innovations that you're talking about. Now, all these innovations, just quickly wanted to understand, are they all in the kind of, what kind of a TRL stage, the ones that you're talking about?
Yeah, so some of them are in TRL 3 and 4, like Brella Innovation and Genomic Solutions, but the LENEC technology has moved up to TRL 6 and 7, and same with the Medantric as well.
Excellent. So is there an interest from the industry to look at all these technologies? Because the kind of focus that academia has on innovations, we don't find that focus at the industry corridors. Industry lacks very seriously when it comes to innovations or research and development. So that transition of technologies transfer, is it happening? Is there an appetite from the industry corridors?
Yes, there is great interest, especially for the lung infection as TB screening device that I talked about. LENEC is doing very well when it comes to the collaboration with the industry. But of course, we need more trust in this domain so that this can be taken even faster, as it is taking a little bit of time in getting the approvals and going up the ladder. Definitely, we need help in that. Yes.
Great. Now you were talking about medtech and biotech side of it, and we know for sure that IT Composec is actually into sector agnostic innovations. We see a lot
Right.
of innovations in food and agri, aerospace, defense, and various other
Yes.
sectors. So, how many innovators are there approximately in your SIC collectively across the sectors?
Yes. At SIIC right now we have about 210 incubated startups that
Wow.
cover that are
Oh,
covering different domains in healthcare versus defense versus agri-tech, in IoT domain as well, and
excellent.
about 200 graduated startups. So we have a
Excellent.
good track record of the startups there.
Excellent. That's a great number. That's a fantastic number.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining
Thank you so
us
much.
today, because we always make it a point to bring this conversation, because we also wanted to know what's happening at the academic corridors, and do you also, because I know that being an academic institution, you address many things, but then what kind of grooming and mentoring that happens in ensuring that the incubators also carry the same DNA. You have that DNA as an academic institution, but the incubators also should have carry the same DNA that way, because we are talking about building trust here, and then we are also talking about ethical code, and then creating that positive impact on the society. So it's either they create a positive impact or do more harm. So do you also bring all those things as part of your incubation protocols, grooming and mentoring?
Absolutely. This is a part of our mentoring when we sit together and handhold these startups. The ultimate goal of serving the society in a positive direction is always our focus. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So
Thank
we
you.
will just move on to the other sessions if you don't mind. And then I hope you're going to stay with us, or because I know that there's a workshop happening at your campus today on MedTech. So if you're
Yes,
going to stay back, maybe after this we will take the Q&A. Is that okay with you?
absolutely fine. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much once again. And I guess uh, there's somebody is asking one question. Maybe let me ask. And the innovation is in process of creating. What is a question? There's some question in the Q&A box.
Okay, let me just see.
Can you please have a look at it?
Yeah, the innovation is in process of creating. Um, Innovation can be at the different levels. It can be at the level of idea, it can be at the level of process, it can be at the level of scaling up. So innovation happens at multiple scales. We support startups at both ideation stage as well as in the production, in the process of manufacturing, creating, as you mentioned, and also in scaling up of some of the technologies.
So
If
request
that may
you to
answer.
we can also request you to leave your email ID in the chat box,
Absolutely.
Deepthi. So anybody interested
Sure.
connecting innovators to industry or connecting industry to academia, they can always reach out, and
Sure.
stakeholders can write to you also. You can always drop it. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you so
Thank you so
much. Yeah. Now we would like to move on to our next session. Now we're going to touch about the role of the industry or various sectoral bodies when it comes to AI, and what is their role in adopting or implementing this AI, and what kind of initiatives that are happening at various governmental organizations and even sectoral platforms like various industry corridors. So we have a session today on this role of industry. We have two speakers today. We have a representation from AI in healthcare, followed by representation from a speaker from the industry who will be talking about product design for circularity using AI. So the first speaker we have is Dr. Madan Gopal. Aarti PPT, please. So Dr. K. Madan Gopal is an advisor and head of Public Health Administration Division at NHSRC, which is National Health Systems Resource, Government of India. So Dr. Madan Gopal will be talking about the application of AI in healthcare to improve the patient care. It's a very interesting topic and a conversation because um, as I was mentioning, the objective and the purpose of this AI is also to create a very positive societal impact. So we are looking at a lot of innovations in the healthcare space using AI. In fact, today morning I was reading about an article about where that's a global article somebody has posted. A very small fraction of the Indian clinicians are actually using AI at the moment, but these numbers are likely to increase further in the long run. So we would like to hear from Dr. Madan Gopal about the initiatives that are happening from NHSRC, which is an apex body from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and to improve the public health initiatives by incorporating AI in various healthcare initiatives. So thank you for joining us today, sir. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, very much, sir.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, that's fine. So I think after hearing the academics, so it's the practitioner's role, okay, what the practitioners have been doing, how they perceive AI. AI, we should remember that AI is artificial intelligence. That means the ability to compute many things using collective wisdom of many people. That means that's artificially this. There is no substitute for intelligence in the medical field because we have to teach the machines, we have to we have to make the algorithms which can train the machines and the machine will compute and give results to you. So with that thing, I think it's a good opportunity to share what we have been doing in AI. So I would be just running through a presentation and after that we can think that yeah, any questions we can look at that question. In AI, the AI in healthcare uses machine learning algorithms and software to analyze and act on medical data. The important thing is to highlight here is the medical data. So good quality data, which is machine readable, which is indexed, and which can be read across cross platforms. That's the important thing. It is very promising technology that can be used extensively in various healthcare domains. As we dwell further into the presentation, then you will appreciate what we have been doing in the health sector. These are the top public health challenges. Before we understand how the AI can help, we have to understand that what are the challenges which we are having or which we are seeking solutions to this. One is the shortage of healthcare, right from the infrastructure and the professionals. How we address the shortage to use of technology and more so use of artificial intelligence. Cancer and diabetes, we are more or less diabetes capital of the world. And the cancer is also coming up. With so many diagnostics and so many markers there, we will require a precision in the form of, because a lot of data is generated. We require precision in arriving at a conclusion which treatment, which kind of treatment modality has to be there. Because for cancer, deciding a treatment modality is now restricted to transfer these tumor control boards in all the hospitals. They decide that what treatment is to be given to the person or the patient. Besides that, you see that a lot of data is coming on how this environment and the climate change is affecting the health scenario. In that, we have to have data so that we can at least predict and project what could be the health eventualities of that condition. Another thing which we are grappling condition is the non-communicable disease. Previously, it was communicable disease. Still, we are having that. Then non-communicable disease. Now we are having the third evergreen, that is early pregnancy and detection. That three burden of disease is already going to be there, and we have to see that how we can use technology for addressing this issue. Then there are access issues. So you will appreciate during the course of the presentation how these access issues have been addressed to use of technology. More so when we are using technology, how AI can build into assist the technological interventions in this. We are also struggling with the data management things and how we are utilizing the tools which are available for effective data management. The mental and substance abuse is another upcoming area where we will require a lot of digital tools, as well as when the digital tools are there, a lot of data would be there. We will require the AI assistance in that. And next is, if you look at the perspective, AI, responsible AI in healthcare, because we have been using AI. There are two documents which Niti Aayog has published. One is responsible AI, which highlights the ethical AI implementation in the health sector, and the other is the operational principles which are there. These are available in the public domain. I think after the presentation, I will be sharing the presentation to the organizers so that they can share it to the wider group. Then these are the potential considerations in the healthcare sector. What we had, because when we were making Center for Excellences, we have on a challenge mode, we have asked proposals on AI from various institutions, including IITs. At that time, we thought that when we are having an AI project, these are the things which need to be considered. So that how the AI potential can be utilized for enhancing services from remote diagnostic to early cancer detection, because cancer and other is a challenge area. The other ethical consideration emphasize fair and biased and accessible AI application. There are many challenges which are there, but these are the points which need to be considered when we are applying AI into the health sector. There would be risk of errors. If there error happens, who will take the responsibility? Suppose any error happens in the treatment of a patient, the doctor is seen by many of the relatives, and you see what kind of situation it arises, and who will be accountable for the risk of errors which happens due to use of AI. So that is also to be accounted when we are considering AI applications in this. Challenges in accountability, because that's very important. Challenges in complex AI-driven decision making, because in the health, the decision has to be utmost. You can't be relying on this. The if a in an ICU, if a doctor is there, he has to take a decision then and there only, so that the patient can be safe. Whether AI is able to address that complex issues or not, that's another consideration which we have to make. We have to see that how the patient data, which are crucial, they have been safeguarded, and protect the AI from the data and the cyber security and the adversarial effect. we see that everybody think that it would be having a job impact on the jobs. But what I see converse, because it is going to add on more jobs into the health sector, because more and more time can be devoted to patient care. And now, with the number of demands and number of complexities arriving in healthcare, you will require more of the health professionals to provide service care. We have to see that how the AI things they tailor to the legal frameworks so that the specific challenges in the health can be addressed. Then these are the possible areas where we are using. One is the research and development, the other is the medical, uh, and the third is public health and the education. In all the space, right? Talk about the medical education, we are using it. Chatbots are there, faculty development programs, health technology assessment is happening. In the disease, in the public health, we are using it for disease surveillance, disease prediction, disease screening. During the COVID time, you have seen a lot of people coming up with a lot of projection. They are all using this kind of tools for making projections. Then if you look at the medical thing, diagnostic imaging, transcription medicines, patient management, radiotherapy scheduling. In fact, if you go to the AIMS hospital now, you see how the patient scheduling is happening, how the immunization scheduling is happening. Yeah, had it not been a technological intervention, we won't be able to do to schedule. Would have been able to achieve around 2.5 crore vaccination in a day. It has because of the tool, the COVID tool, COVID application, which is there using the algorithms and other things, we have been able to do that. So these are the possible areas where we are working, and a lot of things are also be done. So for using any AI, for training the AI, for any doing any algorithm, we require data sets. These are the possible data sets which are available. They are all available in the public domain. Anybody who is interested in developing algorithm, they can use it. But remember that we don't have a longitudinal data of the patient for training the machines and other things. That's the caveat one we should be using. These are aggregate patient level data, but not the detailed longitudinal patient data of the patient for making any predictions. So this can be useful in the healthcare. Now, after knowing the data sets, what we can do with the AI data sets. So early detection of the element, then improved decision making, aid in the treatment, expanded access to medical services. Apart from that, the associated care and other things which are there that can also be addressed. It provides superior experience to the patient and the caregiver. That you have witnessed in the AIMS OPD, how we are using the ABDM number for getting the patient appointments and seeing that how the caregivers are also very happy with that kind of scheduling. Then monitoring and feedbacks on the health vitals. As you see, the Internet of Things and the wearables and other things are coming. Now, a person lies on the bed of the hospital, and all his vitals are now captured without any wires and other things. Previously, a lot of wiring ought to be there. Now, with the kind of sensors and the wearables, you see like how the sensors they have revolutionized this, and by use of AI, you are making predictions and the duty rooms which are there. It can be easily managed by the nursing staff, and only the triggers usually develops there. Then the end of life care also can be taken care by the use. They can at least predict that how much life the person is having and what kind of precautions are the thing. But in medical science, nothing can be predicted. It's only a trend which can be shown, and we have to always factor that thing. So these are the standards which have to follow in the AI thing. One is to ensure quality, safety, and ethical standards. So BS, these are British standard, and the ISO standards are there. We see that any tools which are out of the system which are there, that they have to at least address to the standards. Then these are the AI projects which we are having in the health sector. Recently, to a challenge mode through the Center of Excellences, we have uh, floated some of the areas. Some of the work is already in progress. Now we see that one of the important thing, as I mentioned about the disease surveillance thing, the integrated health information platform is there, where information from different portals is coming to this portal. One particular example is the integrated disease surveillance program. The information comes here, and based on the information, the triggers are generated. And after the triggers are generated, a rapid response team is there at the district level, and they do the test, treat, and track, which is very common among the the people represented that they have instituted. There's a inbuilt mechanism into the health system, and this IHIP platform is providing that information for triggering action so that containment measures and other things are taken. Then you look at the PMJ program, they have created a national claims exchange. Now the hospital doesn't want to have a different software for different insurance company. And they can utilize this national claims exchange in which there is an integration of all the insurance portal claims, and the insurance company can get information from them. We do have a influenza surveillance lab, and this information is also fed into the integrated health information platform. The Aishma digital mission, everybody talks, but one of the important thing is it creates a number. As we have created UDI has created numbers, unique number, which has revolutionized uh, the payment interface in the country. Similarly, the AVA IDs for the patient, for the providers, for the institution, when it is embedded into the electronic health records, because right now we have created more than 50 crore AVA IDs, but the embedment into the electronic health record so that it can become readable and can be used for generating algorithm, that's work in progress. And you will be seeing more about this AVDM program in this. The EVIN, which is now the CoWIN, which is now for the scheduling of the vaccination program, right from inventory management to scheduling as well as giving a certificate of vaccination to the person. Now it will be sending SMS to the people automated SMS to the beneficiary saying that your immunization is due. And this is the public code, and it has been given to more than 100 countries for the vaccination program. The Arogya Setu, we have seen how we have utilized it for triangulation with the mobile towers. So initially it worked well when the number of cases were less. But as the number of cases become more, then this was overwhelmed and we have to restore to the other measures. The eSanjeevani portal is there. This is the telemedicine which I mentioned, how the access issues have been resolved with this telemedicine things. So that is also ongoing, and I'm very proud to report that more than 30 crore teleconsultations have happened. And you see that doctor to doctor consultation happen. This is in the public sector, but the telemedicine happens in the private sector also. That's a different thing. In the public sector, we are taking leverage because we have to reach to the nook and corner of the country where if a person sitting at the peripheral most institutions, as Ayushman Arogya Mandir, if they want to connect to the district hospitals, they can connect. That the issue is with the hospital program, hospital management program, the in which also all the results, all the parameters are there. This also connects with the integrated health information platform, so that this information also calculate and a particular area is identified. I have talked about the pregnancy also. In the pregnancy, we are having mobile AI for prenatal care, where it's a clinical decision support system. Lot of efforts are going on so that in case of any high risk thing, the patient is immediately triggered. The healthcare providers bring them to the higher centers for treatment. Then you took to talk about the National Innovation Portal. We do have a National Innovation Portal where we register the good innovative practices. That means from 9th and 10th level, we take it from there. And after that, if they fulfill our requirement, we send it for ST assessment. After HT assessment only, it can come to the public health system and use. Then we have a national digital blueprint. It talks about how the digital architecture in the country will look like. These are the few startups which are working. I think the IIT academicians have already mentioned what they are doing. These are just to name to, if you talk about the Siktupel, that talks about the AI, and then the Niramai is for the breast, and these are for your the wellness, health and wellness. There are many other things. If you talk about QR AI, and in TB also a lot of things are happening. So these are few examples that startups have also been coming in AR, and we are trying to encourage how these things are. But some challenges are there. These are the challenges in execution of AI in healthcare. One is a cost implication. So somebody has to see that where to invest this cost so that the but we are trying to see that how we can encourage PPP, public-private partnership. We are trying to see that how it can be incentivized. Unless the people you see a proper value in whatever you're doing, it would be very difficult for promoting that thing. Besides that, there is a resistance for change. So one of the other challenges is resistance for change. Then even if we are able to overcome the resistance for change, then we have to see that the interoperability and the integration with the different platforms, because everybody do have a different platform for their own agenda. And beside that, if you, I'm just talking about issues with the hospital management system. If a hospital is having a own system and it is well versed with that own system, it will be very difficult for that hospital to adapt to a new system, whatsoever robust it may be. Beside that, if I'm using an old system, there would be interoperability and issues, and as well as integration, because the data structure, other things are being not used. And for using AI in healthcare for patient care, we have to have a uniform data which is interoperable and it can be integrated into the existing system, so that we can at least train the machines and take the things forward. Besides that, there's a linguistic diversity in challenges. We have been struggling to make a ASHA chatbot because it has to be chat. ASHA is a peripheral most worker in the health system. We are having more than 10 lakh ASHA workers. We're trying to create an AI application for ASHA chatbot. But the moment she poses a question to the chatbot, the answers are very different because of the linguistic diversity. It poses a challenge, and we're trying to see that how we address that issue as well. The next is how to promote AI education training. We are trying to see that this is one of the other areas how to overcome the challenges. We are trying to see that how we are promoting AI education and training. The Center for Excellences are now coming up. We are trying to have some solutions for the problems which we have posed to the to big institutions. Besides that, we are trying to create an awareness and support. We are trying to educate people about the uses of AI in the healthcare. We're trying to see that how AI can be used for monitoring the purpose. You take the Champions of Change dashboard of Niti Aayog when I was working there. We have inbuilt mechanism. Immediately some triggers are there. Immediately the system used to throw messages back to the system saying that this is wrong. And beside that, if you look at the way things are progressing, they do have a national data analytical network. That is a portal is there in which all the data across the country, so humongous data is there. But they're trying to find a solution to how this data can be put to proper use by using artificial intelligence tools and other things. But the main challenge is how to have a common identifier between all the data sets. Interoperability and consistency issues are there, and we see that how that can be solved. But this is still work in progress. We see that how we would be able to crack that thing. The data privacy and ethics issue, that's another thing. We can always build policy frameworks, balance between data accessibility and patient privacy. That's also there. Compliances, regulators are there, which are already taking care of that. And we are trying to see that how a transparent reporting and documentation can happen in this. Other is one of the important thing, as Madam you have mentioned during this, how the industry and academia they can collaborate. But in the health thing, particularly from the Indian perspective, is academia and this industry collaboration one of the area we should require a lot of focus and strengthening. If you look at the COVID times, during the COVID time, it was the university which came up with a vaccine. In collaboration with the university, they have rolled it out. The Covishield was one of the Oxford AstraZeneca is there. It was from the Oxford University. And we require certain kind of solutions coming from the academia, so that because unless until academic rigor is there into the implementation practices, you won't be having good solutions. And we have to see that how we invest in training and education. So beside that, real world validation and integration is one of the important things. We have to see that how, because AI chatbot for ASHA is made, but once it comes to the operational aspect, the linguistic issues are coming up. We see that how that operational ground level real world validation and integration is being addressed. And beside that, we have to address the bias. Take the example of Cure AI and this skygrams in TB diagnosis. It depends on what kind of sensitivity on which you have trained the machine. If you increase the sensitivity, it will detect more false positives. If you reduce the sensitivity, it will give you more false negatives. You have to see that how that kind of bias has been addressed when we are developing a solution, and we see that how we can make a good algorithm. Good algorithms are only possible when we have good data, that too are longitudinal data. The clinical decision support system is also an area where we have to see that how user friendly, I think. At least a trigger is there. You see how the private sector is using. If in a hospital, all the parameters are captured. So it may not be accurate, but it gives a trend that patient is thinking, patient is improving, and how the vitals are behaving to the treatment or not. That kind of at least insights can give to this clinical decision support system. And at least for the ground level where the access is an issue, if an app-based solution is there, if somebody key in some of the key symptoms and signs, if it will throw out that yes, it's a possibility of a high risk and the person can be referred to a higher center, because at least it will make out that whether the patient can be managed at that level or not. If that kind of information is there, I think we have done a lot with the this clinical decision support system. At least I should know that where to stop treatment, where to refer to a higher center. And a lot of work is happening in that direction. And other is the regulatory agility and see that how rapidly we can integrate the AI for regulatory integration. If you look at the vaccine development, in the vaccine development, they are now using the algorithms to arrive and precisely in the mRNA technology, they have used the AI algorithms for seeing that what kind of molecule they need to print the for testing and other things. Then this is the last slide. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Madan Gopal. Very, very interesting session. A lot of key takeaways for all of us. And AI in healthcare is going to have its own prominent role to play in the global market, not just in India. Was it only yesterday I was reading a Qualcomm statement that India has got the maximum engineering engineers than any other country in the world, not even the US. That is the statement coming from Qualcomm yesterday. So having that engineering talent and how is it that we are going to decide? It's a bit scary because uh, the government side you are implementing coming because looking at an integrated structure in the country and kind of onboarding initiatives that are happening to onboard multiple stakeholders. Some of us have been watching all those things regularly. I just quickly wanted to ask you, the health exchange, is it functional? Has it become operational, National Health Claims Exchange?
Yes, it's functional now.
Okay, it's functional, is it? And the other one is just about last week, there was a news in the market that how the Star Health as completely something which is reported that some of the employees of Star Health have completely sold the key employees have sold the patient data, their health information, the data to the dark web, and this was became such a big conversation. It is this kind of data privacy issues, data breaches, which also kind of puts a lot of fear into our minds as public and as the consumers. These are the other side of the AI, which is not at all giving us that trust and confidence. So how, what kind of a strong secured infrastructures that we have in the country to protect all this, to misuse, to protect the markets from this misuse and abuse? There was a report. We really do not know whether
I
it
think the
is.
data privacy bill is already passed and the rules have been made. And subsequently, I think they will take care, the rules will take care of all these things. That means the government is already working in this direction. They are very conscious of this fact that data breaches can happen. But the individual integrity issues are very difficult. That's the only company policy and other things can handle. Otherwise, uh, whatever efforts with the government is doing, that means the data privacy bill, as well as making rules for that. They are very stringent norms for the use of the data and the NDHM data also. It's all encrypted. But if they are, it can't control the integrity of the people who are there. So that's a question I think Regarding the data privacy, already work is in progress, and regarding the other things, it is very difficult to answer that.
This is one of the reasons why we are actually pushing for ethical standards in AI. See, generally the ISO standards or any other international standards make a mention about ethics in business or whatever it is, just as a one clause or one statement. That won't be sufficient. It is a high time that at least a country, we should have a ethical standards framework in the country as far as AI is concerned. Another one I just quickly wanted to ask you, sir, because since you are representing NHSRC, we don't see much of this HTA happening in the country. So though there is a health technology assessment wing that is created, but with all these technologies that are actually finding their place into the market, what is exactly HTA doing? How are they assessing these technologies and then, driving? Because if you look at the more and more high end, we're talking about precision medicine and genomics and all that, the testing prices or the investigations or the diagnostic screening, those prices are atrocious. This is something which we are picking up in the marketplace conversations. So somewhere there has to be HTA in place, because validating technologies, innovations, and all that is another side. But then, the costing side, the economics part of it also, we personally feel the HTA has to be more active. There was a time I feel the HTA was under NHSRC. I really do
No,
not
no,
know whether it
it's
is
not
still.
under the NHRC.
Uh,
It's under the Department of Health Research. So
yes,
that's a department. It's a ICMR body.
yes,
They are doing it. They are responsible, but it's still in infancy. I think it's not.
not much.
It is just evolving and maturing,
Yes,
because the HTA makes a very important role.
yes,
You see the example from 10 baht, the 10 baht scheme of Thailand. The STA played a very important role there. They have reduced the cost of the
correct.
treatment and the cost of the procedures and other thing by use of technology.
Yes,
So if a home-based care is there, you see how the technological intervention has resulted in reduction of the cost during this. I think they are also working in that direction, and more or less, as you see, during the COVID times, and the uh, COVID test was 4,000 rupees. But after the ICMR's intervention, other thing, now you have see
Yes.
that how the diagnostic tests are made more affordable and accessible to everybody. Even you can get your test done at your home. So that kind of thing has evolved, and it will evolve. But the STA division there, they usually are mandated with that. If you look at the PMJ costing, they have initially, after the rollout of the HBO1, I was involved in HBO1 health benefit packages when I was in Niti Aayog. After that, we thought that we should be having an institutional mechanism for costing of the packages. And that task was assigned to STA. And they have done the HBO2. Now HBO3 is there. They have done that packages based on the costing exercise which they did. So that means they are working in that direction. But if you look at the volume as well as the size, that means whatever they will do, so you will say that it's not adequate. But they are doing to the best. I think they are also growing, and our demands and our requests are also growing. So we have to see that how at one stage we balance it out.
yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Just, I mean, I've seen a couple of hands being raised. There's one question. Okay. This is just not a question. Q&A box, I'm just checking. I've seen one or two participants raising their hands. Was it by mistake, or do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question very quickly, please? One or two questions, because we have to go ahead with other sessions also. Are there any questions?
I think it's for
Right.
just
Maybe,
observations.
maybe some, yeah, something by mistake. But looking at the way how the government is kind of integrating AI into various initiatives, do you honestly think private sector, private healthcare sector also is moving in the same direction? Because sometimes we feel that public health, when we are talking about government and their initiatives are much ahead of private sector. And so, is it because even the onboarding of the practitioners or the private establishments is not really taking off in APDM? At least it's moving at after so much of efforts and initiatives and a lot of money being spent on it. It's a beautiful infrastructure created. Something is stopping the private healthcare sector to be onboarded into this. We find more and more healthcare institutions from government side being onboarded. We'd like to have your views and how are we going to take them into confidence, improve their confidence, increase their confidence to be part of this ABDM actually, which is going to benefit everybody in the long run.
It's a very nice question because this I've been raising in many of the private forums also. Because the uptake of the ABDM in the private sector is not up to the mark as expected. So it's slowly and slowly, as you have seen, the Aadhaar uptake initially was not up to that mark. But as the people started realizing the importance and how it can be used, because the moment it is linked to the insurance claims, you will see that all the private would be started using it. It's only the time. It's not that they are not reluctant. They are currently finding that they, how to use it, because whatever they will use it, everybody would be uh, at least some timestamp would be there. The person has gone, the person with so ID has gone to so ID of a hospital, and that person and the provider has provided that treatment. So they are just skeptical that there all the linkage and other things would be captured digitally. But it's not the case. If the data encryption is there, unless or until the patient agrees to share the data can't be shared with any providers. That kind of safeguards are there. So only time with time, I think they will pick up. So it's only the time. Otherwise, they are on board, they are going slow. It's not that uptake is not up to what we are anticipating that it is not an exponential uptake, but they are going very slow. They will come on board, and many of the people they are coming on board. And after realizing that it is very useful for them as well as the patient, I think you will see what Aadhaar has done for the UPI payments and everything. Similarly, AVA will do for the this healthcare and the benefit of the patients.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One question I could see in the chat box, how to validate AI-based software or system? Maybe if you can
I
address
think
it.
the mechanism is there. CDSO is the responsible agency. They usually certify any AI to be used. So that guidelines are there on the CDSCO website. So they are the people who certify.
Yeah, software as a medical device, which is called
It's a medical
SAMET. So, which is when it is used for a clinical decision support purpose, it needs license, and the regulator will ask because these are subject to various international standards. In the subsequent sessions, we have even we can ask Mr. Jaykumar to touch upon this and address this, and he's from this domain and space. I will ask him to address this also, and so the subsequent session, I will ask him to explain this in detail. Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Madan Gopal, once again. Sincere thanks and wholehearted appreciation from all of us for sharing such wonderful insights. We will keep inviting you, sir. Whenever there's an opportunity, please do join us. It is just a knowledge sharing initiative, and we wanted to spread all these developments that are happening in the entrepreneurial world to the businesses and various other stakeholders too. So we will now next move on to the next session. Again, from the representative is from the industry. This is about the role of the industry. So we have Mr. Manoj Kumar Belgaonkar, who is from the head of quality standards and certifications and regulations from Siemens. He will be discussing about the application of AI in product design for sustainability and circularity initiatives. So this is just a brief profile of Mr. Manoj Kumar. And this is something called AI for CE is what I guess he will be touching upon. So we would like to listen to his session. Over to you, Mr. Manoj Kumar. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us once again today.
Thank you. Let me share my screen and just let me know.
Yeah, please.
In a full screen mode. Are you able to see?
We're not getting the full screen mode actually. We don't see the full screen mode. Still in a slide. How about others? Because I don't see the full screen mode. Can someone confirm?
Yeah, it's
No,
in the
it's
slide
not
mode.
in full. It is in
Yeah.
not in full screen mode.
Yes, yes.
I once again.
Happens sometimes.
Is it now?
Just checking. Oh yeah, I think you're using an external monitor. Yeah, this is. How about others? Is this okay?
No, wait, I'll put it in duplicate slideshow.
Yeah.
Is this okay now?
Yeah, this is clear.
Yeah,
Perfect.
this is perfect.
Yes, now
Perfect.
it is clear.
Okay, thank you very much. So today I'm going to talk about AI for sustainability, and especially the it's okay. Uh, so how we are using AI for circular economy. So this is our own initiative degree framework, and we are trying to use every Siemens product. How does it serve not only our own sustainability targets, but also through industry or domain specific circular economy models to realize both the reduce, reuse, and recycle part of the circular economy piece. So these are the four verticals we operate in: industry, buildings, mobility, and electrification. And we have put three statements at the top. One is the decarbonization, energy efficiency. Second one is the resource efficiency and the circularity. And third is the people centricity and societal impact. So I'm going to talk about the middle one, the resource efficiency and circularity part. And that's where how digital twin can be used for reduce material and water energy usage. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Uh, so when we start our journey on this particular topic, obviously the first thing comes is which policy or which framework we are required to comply with, because a lot of these topics are coming out of regulations, and that's where what is the framework. So with both the company's framework as well as the external framework, the markets framework, regulators framework, where we are going to meet, and we need to know the baseline. So what are the sustainability scores? So what is our starting point of this particular topic? Once we select this or once we clarify this, then obviously in the design phase comes the discussion about the material part, right? So is the material available locally? Is the material I have to um, make in-house or I have to make outside? What are the environmental impact? Can I use the recycled material, recoverable material, etc.? What are the properties? What are the applications? And is it going to support these applications requirement? So a lot of this discussion happens in the design phase about the material choice. And that's where, while engineering is done from design to manufacturing, the choices are with respect to should we make in-house, should we buy from outside, how do we stay with the constraints, maybe a reduced energy efficiency, a reduced life cycle, etc. And how can we do it also right up to the component level assessment, this choice. Once the product is made, then comes the demand fulfillment, right? So one is definitely quality and readiness part, but second is procurement, the ecosystem part, to what extent they are ready to comply and they are transparent with respect to their processes as well. And lastly, when the product is being used, how are we talking about end of life or predictive maintenance part? And lastly, the transit especially because a lot of our products are really big products like power transformers, like railways, and a lot of these big products. So how do we also look at these topics also? So, a lot of sustainability aspects need to be considered as part of transit handling as well. So So these are the key again questions you can see. So these are the four roles. I put it on the left hand side. One is as a designer. So he looks at what are the operating conditions as well as what are the operating geography, what material choices I have. Do I use a recovered material or recycled material? And from that point of view, what are the alternative materials I have? Looking at the operating conditions and geography part. So that's where the first search starts, and maybe he starts getting information. Okay, as the metal is carbon expensive, so can I use plastic maybe? So you need to make a decision with respect to the choice which you are trying to make. Then coming to the manufacturing part, so okay, I have a design now. I start looking at sourcing, but I also need to manage the inventory. Not only while the product is being made, but also post the product is made, right? And how do I look at my suppliers? How do I make my contract? And ultimately, I need to assemble the product and deliver it to the customer. So that's where comes the next question again in as part of a search. Is the recycled inventory available from the supplier? To what extent he's able to give? If everyone is looking at it, what is his capacity, etc. Also, I need to make some decisions with respect to the contractual elements. The supplier is ready to comply with in terms of transparency, in terms of his processes, which are capable of delivering this performance, which I'm demanding for. Then the product is delivered to customer. He starts using the product, and then end of life, and then it goes to the recycled processors, right? So again, I need to verify in terms of the maintenance of components, so that how can I extend the life without having to replace. And I'm also required to regularly look at the sustainability targets, because not only me, but even my customers, because a lot of my products are as part of capital goods, they are part of his manufacturing, and he is required to comply with his sustainability targets. So not only I need to monitor this, but also he is monitoring these sustainability targets in the form of KPIs. So how can I look at these KPIs as well? And the last stage, when it comes for recycling, it goes to the collector. Then he starts dismantling it. He starts looking at the inventory of this. He starts processing it as appropriate, and ultimately the process inventory, he starts giving it back to the next customers. But here the key decision is like the kabadi wala, he also looks at the material what he buys and what is it that he is able to recover, and based on that you are going to get your money back. So that's what the question is. The inventory that is up for handling, is it virgin plastic? Is it capable of being recycled? Are there any materials for processing as per recycle, circularity, etc.? So a lot of these are the questions, typical questions which are used throughout the product life cycle. So it is not only the initial part, but throughout the life cycle, this question needs to be considered, and you need to continuously balance these topics. Maybe it becomes with a search, and then you go for decision, then you would like to verify, and all of this we're talking in a soft, without even a single product being made, or without a factory actually being put in place. Uh, uh, so these are the typical knowledge graph. This is how semantic representation which looks like. So from product composition comes the material properties, circularity methods, products and compliances, yeah, maybe inventory management, geographical regions, etc., etc. So you need to make a complete, I will say, database of all these fields, but with appropriate relationships across these fields, so that you are able to make a decision based on this AI framework what we are talking about, right? So what are the typical use cases we are talking about? So first use case could be, okay, based on circularity aligned performance, how can I make choices upfront as part of a design or manufacturing? Yeah, that could be one use case. Second could be, how can I have optimal or reliable supply chain entity engaged, and what are the contractual interactions I'm required to put in place? Yeah. Or third could be, while the product is being used, how can I prevent the wastage, or how can I extend the life cycle of that component based on the predictive maintenance? And lastly, how can I integrate these tools with various sustainability metric computation and reporting? Because today we have one KPI, but slowly, it will start increasing KPIs as we go along this journey. Yeah, sorry. So this is how typically a knowledge graph looks like. So you have a component from product to component, component to material, and material. Then you have a properties, logistics, policy, geography. So multiple fields, and you can see the relationships also how this is mapped. And this whole model becomes a source for AI, around which various combinations, around which various permutation combinations or relationships will be built around this particular topic. And you can see here, so there are two use cases up there. One is, this is HMI. So there is a plastic casing of this panel, and second is a copper winding of this particular motor. Yeah, so these are the two use cases, and I'm trying to ask how do I make this particular panel casing design, And at the same time, I'm also looking at the product, the motor winding with respect to the circularity part, right? And these are the typical answers, or these are the typical scenarios we are looking at. The system says, okay, can I use rounded rectangular indents for stability? I'm talking about now the plastic part. Yeah. So use what kind of a shape I need to use so that it delivers on stability and strength also, and while increasing the durability part. Maybe looking at winding part. So what is the shape of winding which I need to use? Is it a circular winding? Is it a rectangular winding? And what gives me a better filling factor leading to optimal performance? Or it could be, can I use with a recovered steel or a recovered copper? Can I use with mined steel or mined aluminum? So you are looking at various variations in this, and just trying to also see, okay, instead of copper, can I also use other materials as well? Looking at again, coming back to this HMI casing, can I use the recycled plastic with a variant C1, but with a lesser product carbon footprint? And other could be sorry, this is for the copper part. Another could be virgin plastic variant with C2 composition, but a higher product carbon footprint. So how do you balance? So it is not only selection of a specific material, but you are also trying to balance the circularity KPIs as well. In case of winding, can I use a recovered copper variant with a lesser product carbon footprint, but with a weaker performance? Or can I use the aluminum variant with a higher product carbon footprint, but a stronger performance? Maybe if I use it, then the constraints I have is I cannot use the product more than 40 degrees Celsius, right? And lastly, plastic variant for this casing, maybe without operating any operating environmental constraints as well. So you can see how this AI model helps you, because there are three models. One is for material selection first, then is the design verification, validation part, and third is the KPI reporting. So these are the three models which are built into this AI for circular economy tool what we have developed. And this is where it allows you to have these three different roles. And what they help you, of course, to search. So you can make a complex queries related to this product information. It can also support your decision. Once you make a choice, then it will also help you to support, and it will help you to verify. Again, as I said, you're not making a single product, you're not putting your factory yet, but you are still doing everything on database, and based on the properties what you have put into your database. And also you can look at data management, because based on the decisions what you take, based on your actual testing, etc., you can fine tune this data in the further versions. And as well as looking at the data security part also becomes an important role, because the data comes from multiple sources, from your suppliers, from your production, not only from your design. So that's where this data security management also becomes an important piece, because they become basis of your declaration with respect to your circularity part, right? So lastly, and this can be also made domain specific. So it is, though it is a general application, but it can also be made a general purpose or domain specific as well, based on the search, decision support, verification, and etc. You can have domain specific rules, and you can really orchestrate this whole thing in a much finer way going further. So key takeaways. So it can also be, so there are other frameworks like Istenium trusted traceability part. These are in Europe frameworks, but these are across ecosystem. So where actually multiple declarations coming from ecosystem partners, they get computed into the final products product carbon footprint. So that's where it can also be linked like a platform. So your product, this model can also be linked with a platform, and ultimately helping you to go for AI for sustainability as well, based on these knowledge graphs and LLM. Yeah. So I think I will stop here, and we are really looking at active partnerships also to develop. So if you have a problem statements or use case, we can start this journey together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manojji, for the detailed presentation. this sounded a little bit too technical for me, but I wanted to understand your services, the platform that you have built. This works on AI plus machine learning and LLM, right? It's a combination
Yes.
of all the three that you are using. So this is more on the
That's right.
product design, more on the product design.
Yes, it is more on product design. Because like, for example, you're talking about automobile. Now, automobile has at least 2000 plus products and multiple combinations. And the same model you need to also sell in multiple countries. And multiple countries will have a different frameworks for sustainability reporting. So that's where this has become a challenge for manufacturers, how to adopt and how to have a common product platform. So this ultimately helps you to build a product platform architecture so that you can make a combinations and still sell the product across different geographies.
So typically, you're like a GCC, right? Global Capability Centers who are into R&D, prototype development, and all those things. Yours are also something similar to that solution, coming closer to that
Yeah,
from Siemens.
yeah, that's it. But absolutely right, absolutely. Because as I said, we have and this is developed in Bangalore, in India, this whole platform, and we are working with multiple companies in Europe to really help them to solve these kind of problems. Yeah. Uh, Many times they need this as part of their initial stage while they are on their journey on the sustainability journey. Once they get a good hands-on, then they take this model and they start working on their own. But initially, it is kind of a collaborative effort required, and then they can take over on their own.
Thank you for that. Any questions from the audience? Any questions in the Q&A or in the chat box? Just trying to pick up. Anybody wants to ask any question?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm Suhas here. Hello.
Yeah, Suji, you're audible. Yes. You are audible. Please go ahead. Can you hear us, Suhasji? I think he's on the travel mode. Looks like some technical glitches. Able to unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. How this is being different than the simulation machine that we used to have in the past for the various product design?
So simulation is typically for a particular only one dimension. Here we are looking at multiple dimensions. Is it recycled material, recoverable material? You also want to look at product performance. You also want to look at which suppliers. You also, for example, you may get the best material, but if you are going to import it from say South America, then you need to also look at that. So these are basically different combinations which you have to try and then get it done. And as I said, again, these KPI calculation methodologies can differ. Say India will have a different method than Europe. And so you also need to look at these methodologies. The interpretation may not be the same because sustainability is still kind of an aspirational for multiple countries, which is still not in line with the technology, what technology can deliver. And that's where this particular tool actually helps you to bridge that kind of a gap. What technology can actually do, or where you can stretch your technology so that you are able to deliver on the sustainability aspirations of a country.
I just wanted to ask, I'm sorry, Suhasji, you're about to say something? I just wanted to ask, this is actually on the product design, maybe for your product or for your customer products. Are you trying to kind of address any linkages between your customer product and their supply chain also? Because they are also part of
Yes.
this thing. So are you trying to address that? That's a very critical element nowadays. Yeah.
Yes. So I was talking about these, the Together for Sustainability or Istinium. So these are the, at least in Germany, German government has created this as vertical, I will say collaborative frameworks. So for example, a car manufacturer is trying to say, I want to reduce my product carbon footprint by 20%. So he alone cannot do it. So he is going to divide this. Okay, for tire manufacturer, you give me 5 units. For
Yes.
ASIC, you give 10 units. So the discussion happens between the original manufacturer and his
Yes.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
They in turn talk to their OEMs because who are going to make machines for them, and we as a technology provider, we create a transparency so that so there is no two methods of calculating the same thing. So the platforms what we provide, they actually create this transparency. So it is a collaborative effort. So it is not a unidirectional part. It's always a collaborative effort to make this possible. It takes anywhere between 2 to 3 years to come to a particular, I will say, understanding across this. Currently in Germany, they have done it for 6 verticals: automotive, chemicals, pharma, e-vehicles, machine tools. So these are the 5 verticals, and I think sixth, I forgot the name. But these are the 6 verticals where, and this is done along with industry associations like ZVEI, like VDMA. So whichever that line industry association is, they put together, they provide this as a platform funded by government, and the industry members they come together, because a problem is unique for one automotive manufacturer than other automotive manufacturers. The aspirations are different. So it has to be done completely in a unique way, how they want to do it, and not really one solution fitted for all kind of solutions.
So you also work with the pharma sector?
Yes.
Okay, fine. How is the response in the Indian market? Now, there's a global perception, a global requirement that you have addressed it. Are there any such initiatives happening in the Indian market? Forget about the government's directive, but voluntarily from the industry.
Yes, it is happening, but it is at a particular manufacturer's level. It is at a company level. So it is at a then. I mean, the scale is much smaller because when you do it at a particular company, the scale is much smaller. The complexity is not that high. But yes, we see definitely many pharma people are talking to us, and we are working closely on this particular thing very clearly.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for that detailed
Thank you.
presentation. Any questions somebody wanted to know about anything else? I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
No other.
Can I ask question?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much. This is amazing. This is probably by far one of the most advanced GenAI use case I have seen in sustainability. So congrats. Couple of questions. Number one, is this for your internal usage or is it for your customers? So are you offering this platform as a sustainability solution for your clients?
This is for customers. This is for customers.
This is
We are
for
also using
customers.
it. So we also have it in house. Yeah, we are using, I think, for more than 5 years. I know we have developed this green digital twin. We have used this for quite some time, and it was being offered as in-house services to internal manufacturing. Now we have started offering this also to the external customers also.
Okay. So then the focus is only sustainability, because I think the solution, when I looked at it, it has actually the components that it can be used even in a broader sense outside sustainability. So what is the current positioning? Is it just sustainability, or is it you cover a few other use cases, such as maybe participating in product designing and things which have nothing necessarily to do with sustainability?
Yes. So primarily we are looking at, I mean, the point is, a lot of iterations you are required to do when we are looking at sustainability, and there is no one a particular acceptable solution because it is still part of a discussion. I mean, for example, someone tells you to reduce your 10% product carbon footprint in 5 years, but you go back and say, okay, I can do it in not 5, but I can do it in say 6 years. So there is a lot of back and forth thing which is happening with the regulators, with the governments, or with the ecosystem. So that's where you need this technical tool to make this kind of a negotiation, because the tool gives you information right away. But to achieve this collaboration with your suppliers, with your regulators, so that I can go ahead and start putting my plant, I can go and make changes into my design, that takes a lot of time. So that's where this tool actually helps you to shorten this particular product development time. Otherwise, there are standard tools available as part of a product design, which are doing finite element analysis and so many optimization. They're already doing this kind of a thing. So there is nothing great into that thing. But here it looks at your recoverability. I mean, just imagine someone telling you that you can put battery in your product, but at the end of life, it should have 40% recoverable material. Now, how are you going to design a product? Because today you are designing a product to deliver a certain performance. Now you also have to declare the performance at the end of life as well. So these tools allow you to have this kind of a permutation combinations back and forth, and to really shorten this time on these aspects.
And plus all the dimensions like different countries and their regulatory needs and so on into equation and then design. So it's a very interesting. What stage is this product at? Is it like already, is it under development, or it is developed and offered to client? You already have customers using it. What stage is it in?
We are already offering it to the customers. Primarily, again, as I said, customers are more in Europe. We are looking at customers in India. Are they ready? Can they come up to have this kind of a discussion? So it is offered to customers in Europe. Let me put it simply. But the team sits in India. From here, they do jobs for Europe. We are saying Indian companies also, why not let us work together for India also?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question in the Q&A box, if you can answer, Manojji. This is actually from Mr. Mayangao. How will AI ensure the sustainability element before manufacturing actually starts? Or will it also suggest course corrections?
Yes, that's exactly the questions which I was talking about, that I can use a recovered material, but it is going to give me a lower energy efficiency. I mean, just imagine, for example, I'm delivering an electric motor to railway, and typically they are asking for performance up to 35 years. Yeah. Now, how do you guarantee this for 35 years? Now, if I make any changes, then the performance will be downgraded. So it will not be 35 years, but it will be, say, 25 years. Now, is it acceptable? So that's where this kind of a combination, it allows this particular model, it allows you to do such kind of a permutations combination. So it does help you for course correction and also various KPIs. Because it takes manufacturing KPI, it takes manufacturing aspects into it. It takes also the transportation, the logistics part also. Whatever scope 1, scope 2 you're talking about, it looks at all these elements to calculate your KPIs.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful insights and presentations. We're just talking about, trying to understand and pick up a lot many innovative solutions that are available globally for the markets to pick up. So thank you for that, Manojji. We will now just move on to the next session of the day today. So now we have understood the dimension and the perspective of the academia, where they are developing cutting edge innovations using AI, where they're also trying to develop technologies and solutions for to create some positive impact on the society or for the betterment of the society. Then we had the industry perception, where how this AI is actually being implemented or integrated with industry programs and initiative. We have actually tried to understand from a public health perspective and also from a private sector, where the sustainability is even integrated right from a D&D, design and development stage itself. So different thought processes and different perspectives. Now the session is actually about the role of conformity assessment bodies who are connected to the standard space and the assurance space, audit and assurance. So conformity assessment bodies are the agencies who actually offer you all those certifications who actually do the testing, conduct the inspection and all that. In short, they are called as audit and assurance agencies. Now, they have a key role to play. So there are standards today. We are talking about developing AI standards. Some standards are already available, but then more and more standards, specific standards are needed. So there are standards which are getting designed and built. And on the other side, academia is pushing innovations into the market. On one side, industry is trying to, onboard those technologies into their daily routine. There is something called some validation, some verification, some testing, some inspection or some assurance audits that need to be conducted. Otherwise, what happens is it is just a claim from an innovator or an industry. So when we are talking about building trust on this AI initiatives, AI-led businesses, AI-led innovations, building the trust is very, very critical, and ensuring that all of them, whether it is an innovator or an industry, they try to look at the key responsibility quotient and the ethical part of it also. So we would like to understand from the conformity assessment bodies. We have Mr. Maleshwar Rao, who is the lead auditor from TUV India. So representing the conformity assessment bodies, we would like to understand their views that, AI is here to shape a safer and a greener future. And that's all the sustainability is all about, protecting your Mother Earth and ensuring that all of us lead a safer and environmental friendly in a green ecosystem. So it is, we just would like to understand how are they as assurance agencies, audit agencies, building introducing that responsible audit practices and assurance practices. At the end of the day, whether it is a product or a service, the end impact or the end user sometimes or an indirect benefit is always actually impact is on the consumer or on the public. So any product service with all those innovations and with all those commercialization of technologies with the assurance tax, at the end of the day, as an end user, as a common man, it should protect me. It should protect me as when I'm part of the society. So there are a lot of claims that are happening in the marketplace. We are all seeing on a daily basis the green claims. The moment the climate change came, the moment the sustainability came, everywhere there's a green label. Everywhere there is a green tag. And then, all these things are becoming the buzzwords. We are finding businesses with the green as a part of the business name. Tomorrow, even AI will become a part of your business name. So there has to be a strong assurance to a common man that, when I pick up a product, when it comes with all those verification and validation, assurance bodies have got a lot of responsibility. So in the world of AI, with every business claiming AI in their routine operations, how are you going to address all these elements? We would like to hear your views, Mr. Maleshwara. Over to you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes,
Can you
very
please
much,
confirm?
very much, very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So let me share this screen. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet, please. Yes, clear now.
Is it visible now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. So myself, Maleshwar Rao. I'm representing the TÜV India certification body, whether conformity assessment body. And so today I'm going to talk about the new standard which was released in last December 2023. And this is called Artificial Intelligence Management System, AIMS, based on ISO 42001:2023. So from this, I would like to start with some of the slides related to the standard itself, which is 42,001. And thereon we will look into the auditing practices as well. So what practices we follow during the assessments for the new management system standard. Okay, so as I mentioned, so the joint technical committee once started working on these setting standards to control the artificial intelligence domain. So there were two committees actually which worked on our subcommittee 42 and subcommittee 40. They were taken the responsibility to Hello, am I audible?
Yes, please. Little louder, Malishu Rao garu. Little louder, please.
Yeah. So actually, I'm also in not at my place. No
Right.
problem, but still,
This is clear.
yeah.
Now this is
it
perfect. This is
clear?
perfect.
Clear?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so these two subcommittees have taken responsibility to frame the requirements related to the artificial intelligence management system for the organizations who are generally into the AI models, AI-based solutions, providing platform-based or non-platform-based services, or providing support for various stages of the development of AI-based models. Actually, this particular standard is designed for the organizations providing or replacing AI-based products or the services ensuring responsible development of and use of AI systems as such. And as I mentioned, this particular standard was released in 2023 December, and with some other allied standards. Actually, this is the first standard which referred to around 24 other allied standards as part of the ISO 42001 2023. So these are some of the basic family of standards for 42001 that is related to artificial intelligence management system, and also some guidance on risk management as well as information technology, artificial intelligence, and the information technology, artificial intelligence, assessment of machine learning, classification performance, and all these are allied standards for ISO 42001 family as such. So here some of the sections as referred like any other management system standards, which talks about the generic framework right from the context of organization and the leadership commitment, then the planning, then support, operations, performance evaluation, improvement. Basically, these are as such like plan, do, check, act, and Annex A of this particular standard talks about the control objectives and the controls, and Annex B of the standard are something guidelines for the artificial intelligence management system implementation. And when it comes to the 42,001 concepts, so the organization must specify the AIMS goals or objectives and controls based on AI risk analysis. So there is a artificial intelligence risk assessment, artificial intelligence risk of treatment, and also there is an AI artificial intelligence system impact assessment as well. And so the choice and controls based on the domain, the controls can be selected from the Annex A, right from A.2 to A.10, and there's a continuous verification process and continual improvement process. So scope, which includes the business characteristics, then the organizational characteristics, location, assets, technology, and outside the scope related to the suppliers as well, part of the artificial intelligence management system. And this is what I mentioned. So all these activities, right from the section 4 to section 10, or chapter 4 to chapter 10, it talks about the plan to check that of the management system. So these are the actually ISO 23894 is the standard actually, or the guidance which talks about the risk management related to artificial intelligence. Talks about the risk identification, risk analysis, and evaluation as part of the risk assessment, and also the risk treatment as well, and based on which the similar to any other standard, a statement of applicability with all the applicable controls of artificial intelligence management system will be drawn as the statement of applicability. So this is how the defining the risk assessment process, which is a requirement of the standard, which talks about the risk acceptance criteria, whether it is a risk appetite or the criteria for risk assessment, as well as ensuring that the repeated artificial intelligence risk assessment, when you do, it produces consistent, valid, and comparable results. And identify artificial intelligence risks. So the risk framework has to be defined by the organization to assess all the artificial intelligence related risks with the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and
Sorry for the
availability.
interruption. Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Ramalesh Rao. Can you please raise your voice a little, because voice is actually going low dipping. Audience are requesting you. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe come closer to
Is
your
it fine,
laptop or
ma'am?
a system. Yeah, it is fine.
Yes,
But then,
yes, I'm,
the voice dips a little. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So when we analyze any organization analyzes the artificial intelligence risk curve based on the impact and like report based on which the risk exposure related to artificial intelligence systems will be determined. And the last step is evaluate the artificial intelligence risk by comparing the risk value against the risk acceptance criteria defined in the risk management procedure, and also the AI related risks can be prioritized based on the risk exposure. Okay, so this is what the output of the generally risk assessment and the risk treatment, where a statement of applicability will be produced by the organization, selecting the controls from the Annex A of the standard, wherein the SOA will state the reasons for the control of selections, like what's the reason for selecting a particular control, or if any controls are not selected, then why, what is the reason, on what basis the controls are not selected as part of the risk assessment and treatment. And the justifications and the exclusions and the inclusions will be part of the statement of applicability. And the organization is always have a choice of selecting the additional controls from the organization side. And these are the 9 domain controls as part of the Annex A of the standard ISO 42001-23, which talks about the policies related, the high-level policy of artificial intelligence, or in low-level policies, or in sub-policies of AIMS. And then similarly, internal organization, the responsibilities of the teams, then the resources for the AI systems which are required. These resources, like it can be like data resources, toolings, tooling related resources which are used in the system, or the system and computing, or sometimes it is human resources. So assessing impact on AI systems. So the impact assessment has to be done for the artificial intelligence system, and the A.6 control talks about the artificial intelligence system life cycle, and the 7th is for data for the AI system, like the data sources used for the artificial intelligence system, and the information for interested parties of AI systems, use of AI systems, and any third parties are involved in this particular AI system life cycle, then the controls related to third party as well included as part of A.10 controls. And similarly, as I mentioned earlier, so this Annex B can be referred for the implementation guidance on 42001-2023 requirements. So as a conformity assessment body, when we audit, we follow the ISO 17021 guidelines, as well as ISO 19011-2018. The audit principles which we follow are the integrity and the fair representation, then due professional pay, confidentiality, then independence, and evidence-based approach we follow during the course of audit, as well as the risk-based approach, because all these management system standards are based on risk. So risk-based approach to audit planning as well, when we plan the audits as part of like the conformity assessment body or the certification body, a risk-based approach to be adopted based on the information in audit program. We prepare the audit program before we assess any organization for any management system standards. We consider the risk of the audit activities of the organization process and provide the basis for agreement among audit client, audit team, and the auditee as well. And as part of the risk-based approach, the audit team leader, as a team lead, we consider the audit team composition and the competence of the audit team, and also the audit will be conducted as per the sampling techniques. We use some sampling techniques to within the artificial intelligence management system scope. And we identify the opportunities for improvement to improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of the audit, and risk created by ineffective audit planning to achieve audit objective as well. We will identify before the assessment. So risk to audit is created by presence of audit team members, that is contamination in clean room facilities. So this is altogether, it's a different self. And so how during the course of audit, then as a conformity assessment body, how we collect and verify the evidences what we see during the assessment. So generally we source of information for collecting the objective evidences is through the interviews. We interview the process owners, we interview the departmental heads or whoever is responsible for the particular activity. We observe during our audits or during the facility visits, then we collect the objective evidences through the documented information and surrounding work environment and conditions. And also we go through their databases, websites to collect the information. And collecting by appropriate sampling. So as I mentioned, we follow our sampling plan. So judgment based on the sampling and statistical sampling. Audit evidences, like it is by interviewing the people or the resources, the whatever results we get, and results of the observation. Then we look into the documents and the policies, procedures, documents, and other objective evidences, and whether we will check whether those policies and procedures and the implementation as per the guidelines are complete, correct, consistent, and current. And the next is evaluating the against the audit criteria. So, for example, when we talk about the audit criteria, when we audit the artificial intelligence management system, then the set foremost criteria is about the standard requirements of 42001 2023. And also we will look into the requirements set by the customer, the statutory and regulatory requirements we will look into, and also the organization specified policies and procedures as well when we evaluate the samples. So that is the criteria generally what we look during the course of audit. And audit findings, so generally conformity, non-conformity observations, etc., based on the gaps what we identify with respect to the above audit criteria. Like during the course of audit, if any, if the samples are meeting the conformity to the requirements of all the stated requirements, statutory and regulatory, then it is a conformity. And if any gaps are identified, then based on the impact of the gap on the overall management system, then we generally classify them as a non-conformities and observations. And the preparation of the closing meeting. So as generally after conducting the audit, the final step is the closing meeting before we complete the audit, and we will come with the audit conclusion, which will be disclosed during the course of the closing meeting. So this is the procedure what we follow when we do any assessments. And I will not take much time. This is the benefits of the complaint to the 42001/2023. One is risk assessment and management, because this particular standard emphasizes more on conducting thorough risk assessments to identify the potential vulnerabilities related to AI systems, and it also provides guidelines for assessing the risks associated with the data breaches, unauthorized access, or any security threats, along with the strategies for effective risk mitigation. So the risk assessment and management is heart of any management system standard, but it plays a very crucial role in terms of artificial intelligence management system to identify all potential risks of the system. Next is the advantage is the data governance, which generally the effective data governance is possible through this particular standard 42001 for maintaining the integrity and confidentiality of the data. And ISO 42001 offers guidance on establishing robust data governance policies and procedures, compliance with even the regulatory requirements and industry standards, like generally what we were talking about, whether it's the GDPR or HIPAA or any other regulations, whether it is related to any privacy information or any sensitive information. And next is about the security controls, which are already part of the NXE of 42001, which generally gives the secure controls. Like generally, if we the traditional way, generally with the, for example, when we take the ISO 27001, all the controls may not adequate to the latest technologies which are used by the artificial intelligence like deep learning or machine learning. But this particular ISO 42001 security controls are very much including the aspects of data security, which includes encryption, then the access control, then data masking or any anomaly detection within the artificial intelligence system. And the final is the increased customer trust, because when the organization is certified for the artificial intelligence management system based on this particular 42001 2023, then it will protect all the sensitive data and fosters the trust among the customers, partners, and stakeholders. And obviously, when it is certified by any third party, like any conformity assessment body, then definitely it is a differentiator from their competitors and demonstrating the ability to safeguard the customer data and intellectual property. That's it from my side. I hope I'm on time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Malleshwara, for that detailed presentation on the respective international standard ISO standard on AI, which helps businesses to implement management systems when they are introducing AI into their business. There are many programs happening in the country. Even I just came across a program where a lot of IITs are actually creating programs on implementing AI into businesses and all that. But as stakeholders, what we would like to know is, as stakeholders, be it industry or an innovator or a certification body, consultants, there's a lot of upskilling required when it comes to understanding the AI structures and AI practices, how it's implemented in the business. How ready are the conformity assessment bodies, okay, with this kind of a new integration of AI into businesses? It's still early stage, very early for all of us trying to understand, get a grasp and a little grasp about these AI practices. So I would like to know how ready are the certification bodies, especially on the people skilling, because AI is actually now there in all businesses, including a micro and small business. Some digital tools, some AI related intervention is happening. Do we have many such standards in addition to this, what you have shown, this 42001? Are there any other standards, or more and more standards are getting developed? As assurance agency, like, do you feel that all the certification bodies are really equipped with the right teams to audit and then offer that assurance? I would like to hear your views on this, please. You're muted, I think, Mr. Malleshwara. I think, are you there, Mr. Malleshwara? There's a technical glitch at your end, I guess. We lost your connection. Or is it just me having this problem, or how about others?
No, I'm also not able to listen.
I think
Yeah.
he got logged out. Let us see maybe whether he's joining back. He did mention about some technical glitch. Okay. Maybe just wait for another 1 minute. If he's unable to join, let's move on to the next session. Yeah, yeah. We lost your connection.
Hello, hello.
Yes, Mr.
Am I
Yeah.
audible now?
Very much, very much,
Sorry.
very much.
Sorry. There was an internet disconnection.
Fine.
Yeah, to answer your question, so it's a challenge now because it is the initial stage. Even within the conformity assessment body,
Yeah.
we are getting trained for the artificial intelligence management system. So as you are aware, when we go for any assessment for any organization, we need to attend at least the lead assessor course for the artificial intelligence management system. So which is already in progress in many of the certification bodies across the world. And even that kind of upskilling is going on now within the certification bodies. And also there are several awareness trainings and then internal auditor trainings are being conducted by the certification bodies, not only by the for the internal employees or the resources, but also for the external world as well.
Some questions asked about any LA courses being conducted on this particular standard. I can see the questions in the chat box.
Yes. Trainings are conducted many of the certification bodies. Now I can say not every certification body, but majority of the top certification bodies or the conformity assessment bodies are conducting the lead assessor courses, which is for 5 days course.
Is there any regulatory mandate across the globe that since businesses are implementing or integrating AI into their business, is there a regulatory mandate that the organizations have to adopt some of this management system certifications? Are the regulators accepting all this? I just would like to understand from you.
No, as of now, there is no such mandatory requirement for any regulators for AI.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr.
Hello.
Malleshwar.
Hello,
Any questions,
Malleshwara.
please?
Mr. Malleshwara.
Yeah.
Suhas here.
Yes.
Yeah, there is one typical question. ISO 27000 and 27701. How much additional effort to put?
Suhasji,
Can you please repeat your
voice is floating, Suhasji. Can you please repeat again? Suhasji, you're there?
To get it compliance with.
No, your voice is actually not clear. Your voice is floating, Suhasji. Maybe you can share your question in the chat box because your voice is not clear. I think even Mr. Malleshwara also again lost the connection. Maybe we'll request Suhasji, can we skip this?
I'm there. Am I audible?
You're there. Yes. Suhasji, you're there. No, we lost your voice. Maybe Mr. Malleshwara, you're going to be here for some time, right? When he joins, can we take this question later?
Yes. Sure, definitely. Or you can put in the chat as well.
Yes. Yeah, Suhasji.
Yeah, I was asking if any organization is fairly implemented ISO 27000 and 27701. How far additional efforts need to put to get the compliance with 42001 in terms of percentage? Hope you are able to get my question.
Yes. I understood the organizations who are certified for the 27001 and the 27701. You are talking about. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see, the framework which is there, it is almost the same, like the same clauses and controls. But for example, here it is very specific to ISO, that is Artificial Intelligence Management System. So definitely the more effort is required. It is not like ISMS or PIMS, but around 40 to 50% of additional effort is required to implement 42001 in the organization. Because there are some additional controls put in place in ISO 42001.
But quite a few controls are covered also in 2022's version of 27001. Right?
Yeah.
Great
That is why I said it is 50% is covered for both PIMS and ISMS, but the remaining controls needs to be completed in this 42001. So it will be almost, it's like a 50% additional effort is required for the organization who are already certified for these standards, like 27 and 2770.
Are there transitions or the migration LA courses available for 27001 and 27701 LA people to get it migrated or upgraded to 42001?
No, for this there is no migration as such. It is altogether, it's a separate lead auditor course of 5 days to be attended to become the lead auditor for this particular. It is not like the migration because altogether it is a different standard. For example, if 27001 2013 to 2022. There could be a migration, but in this particular standard, it is altogether.
No. Initially, in the past, for the different standard, different transition programs were there. If you are certified for 9001, for 14001, you don't need to go to the LA module of that LA course. Like that, are there any modules coming up?
For 42001? Yeah. It is altogether, it's a different LA course only. It is nothing to do with our linkage for the other standards like ISMS and PIMS.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malleshwara, for that detailed insight on this management system standard, which is introduced for businesses that are implementing AI into their business. And now let us move on to the final session of the day today. This is going to be a panel discussion. So we had the previous sessions from multiple speakers bringing out different perspectives. Now we have the panel discussion is actually about building a resilient infrastructure for a prosperous and sustainable tomorrow. Together. So there's a collective coordination and effort that is required from multiple stakeholders for this, because the spotlight is actually on SDG 9, which talks about some alignment between industry, innovations, and building infrastructure collectively. So we have the session moderator today. We have Mr. Jay Kumar with us. Aarti, can I have the PPT, please? Mr. Jay Kumar is a very senior management consultant from Chennai, who's basically is the founder of AmitiSoft, which is a strong IT and ITS consulting organization from Chennai, one of the oldest firms. And so he's an entrepreneur, and he is an AI positive pragmatist. At least somebody thinks very positive about AI. And then also the founder of AmitiSoft Technologies. And we also see him in many corridors like Spin in Chennai, which is a very active group for IT businesses. And he's been part of various industry initiatives. And so he has a very long innings and expertise in software quality testing, information security, software development and management and all that. So he worked in the industry for many years, like Western Crompton and Ramco Systems, and then he started his consulting journey. And then we also have panelists today with us. So we have Mr. Vikram Rastogi, who's the founder of HackLab Solutions. I guess Vikram is also an incubator of IIT Kanpur, if I'm right. So, so it is, as I was mentioning, we always make it a point and effort to include early stage businesses and innovators into our marketplace conversations. And our favorite spot is always IIT Kanpur. We always go and knock at the doors, looking at innovators and trying to introduce them into respective conversations. Vikram has built his solution around industrial safety and industrial security solutions, industrial automation for multiple sectors, I guess. That is what I could pick up from his website. And we also have Mr. Sanjay Pandey with us. So I met Mr. Sanjay Pandey very recently in Kochi in a healthcare conference where he was presenting his fintech innovations for healthcare services sector. So he's basically from a fintech space, a fintech solution. He offers medical financing solutions and loan solutions to patients to empower them to pay their hospital bills. So they have also integrated AI into their kind of risk assessment process and doing some due diligence on the patients. So I was just listening to a speech, which was very interesting because we do not have many players who are offering this patient medical financing solutions, offering patients loans. And so maybe I thought it's an appropriate forum to invite him to be part of this conversation also today. And there's a lot of discussions on AI in healthcare, so he has got to be here, and that's why we've invited him. And we also have Mr. Deshpande, Mr. Jaivan Deshpande, who's the founder, chief solution officer from Acheon Labs, right? And he's also founder and CEO of eZest. So basically, it's a generative AI solutions company. What I could pick up is Acheon Labs is actually a digital innovation solutions company offering a lot of innovations, engineering services and solutions for wide range of sectors. Now we're going to listen to Mr. Jaykumar, maybe weaving his conversation and bringing all of them into a collaborative engagement, and let us listen to them and see how they are going to work together collectively and to bring that resilient infrastructure which is needed. On one side, we have somebody offering solutions to industry. On some one side, we have innovators with innovative solutions in early stage businesses. So over to you, Mr. Jaykumar, and request you to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. It's been a pleasure to really share this session, and really thanks for this opportunity. Let me share my screen. Just right here. Is my screen visible?
Full screen mode.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Okay.
Perfect.
So the theme has been already mentioned by Rama madam. So basically, this is going to be a panel where we are going to focus on building trust in AI. See, basically building a resilient infrastructure for a prosperous and sustainable tomorrow together. That's the topic for the discussion. So I think we are running a little bit late, but still we'll take another 30 minutes or so. And what we have planned among us is to have 2 rounds of discussion with each of the panel members. And I will start initially with my thoughts, and then possibly we'll go one by one, and I'll have a few questions. So I think it's been discussed during this webinar from the beginning. Okay, so we are looking at various issues. Now, when you talk about AI infrastructure, okay, when you talk about resilient AI infrastructure, what are the factors that contribute to that? Okay, infrastructure is not only a physical building. We are talking about here today, talking about the computer, data center, and the artificial intelligence that resides there and data that resides there. Okay, so typically the factors like basically there is an impact on the environment because it consumes a lot of power. And then the use cases, once you have AI can be used for anything. So the use cases are really ethical in all respects. Okay. And we also discussed, there were some questions on job displacement or retraining, reskilling. It's very important. So yet at every level, okay, the people are to be really ready for this. And I think we have some discussion on this by one of the panel members. And very important is the safety and the data security. From Ahmed, I mentioned about the loss of data from Star Health. So when you have a huge data like this and a lot of privacy information, particularly when it's used for training the artificial intelligence, how do you make sure that they are protected? They're coming to that, when you have a solution coming out, I think there were some questions regarding validity of AI solutions. So we look at, is there any bias in the system? Okay, does the system really, go towards favoring a particular gender or not, or particular region, particular religion? So is the system behaves fairly? All these things are very important to ensure that your AI infrastructure is ready for use. Transparency and accountability, for example, I think we heard from TV Nod about how basically make the system transparent and accountable so that you can also get it to international standards and the regulations like European Union AA Act and so on and so forth. And not the least is the public engagement. How do you bring all the stakeholders together in this journey? Okay. Quickly setting up this tone for environmental impact, I think what I wanted to share with you is basically power needed for AI is actually as much as the power consumed by certain countries. That's something which we all ought to be cognizant of. For example, training the LLM, large language model. When you say large language model, Chat GPT-3, we're now talking about Chat GPT-4 and GPT-O1 and so on and so forth. So there are so many other versions have come out, but it requires power up to 10 gigawatt hours. Okay. Today, 8% of the total data center power is attributed to loads related to AI workload. So what happens is when you search on a Google, okay, it consumes at least 0.3 watt hours, one search. Similarly, let's say that now you're doing one Chat GPT query, it requires almost 3 watt hours. That means if you use 20 queries, if you put in an hour, that is equivalent to one 60 watt bulb consuming that power. Okay, so 20 queries leading to 60 watts per hour. Similarly, ChatGPT overall, okay, queries will receive almost 10 terawatt hours. For example, let us assume that ChatGPT gets integrated with all the searches. Okay, once you see that all the searches are handled in annual time frame, it takes about 10 terawatt hours. This is one power related fact. Then water. Forbes says that basically 1.1 billion people today worldwide lack access to the clean water. But each Chat GPT query needs almost 500 ml of water. And fresh water withdrawal for global AI demand is almost 6.6 billion cubic meter by 2027. It's been forecast. So basically what we see is there's a lot of impact on the power and the water. So basically, do we use responsibly the AI? That's a question which we are going to discuss in this session. And when the technology grows further, energy footprint will become much and more. So sustainable AI practices are very much crucial for the success. And once that AI should thrive, then it requires sustainable practices. So towards sustainability, a lot of things are there. Basically, are we going to use eco-friendly hardware? In fact, in the Siemens presentation, we discussed a lot of things, a lot of analysis on making sure that material used is sustainable and so on. Similarly, energy efficient chips. Okay, share resource through cloud, AI services. Basically the resources are available, but everywhere it's replicated. Do we duplicate the resource, or can we optimally share without really over consuming the power? Then often ignored aspect is algorithmic efficiency. Basically, you can write program in 10 lines, 1 line, 20 lines, the same solution, but the efficiency of the algorithm matters a lot now to ensure that your power consumption is less. So this is another sustainability factor, which is generally ignored, because today, people used to think that memory is available, everything is power, CPU power is available, so they don't bother about the efficiency of the code. I feel that going forward, this becomes a very, very important. Similarly, the data which you are going to use for training, or minimal data is not sufficient. I think in the panel we are going to talk about this, whether it should always go for a very large model or a small model which can really give you a good enough performance. Then other thing which is coming up in the future, which is something like neuromorphic computing. So we all heard about neural networks. Basically, neural network is used for training the AI system, but neuromorphic computing is entirely different thing where it's basically trying to model the brain, something similar, including the hardware, software, architecture, everything together to ensure that your connectivity, signals, everything becomes much faster. These are some of the things which are actually being some of the things are practiced. Neuromorphic computing is yet to come up, and then when it comes up, we'll have its own challenges like how do we integrate with our current von Neumann architecture, and do we have programming languages to use the neuromorphic computing and so on. But that's the future. Now, having said that, okay, so what I would now go to my fellow panelists one by one, and then we'll listen to them, and then basically we can revisit my slides. So I will temporarily disconnect my slides sharing. Now I would initially request Vikram to step in. Basically, as you know that Vikram is from IIT, Kanpur, where he's got multiple degrees, and then basically coming from very strong academic background. And Vikram, what I noticed was you have done a lot of work in safety aspects and related to the using AI for safety aspects in the manufacturing, and then building a lot of SOPs, which are very critical to make sure that. So, can you just talk about those in your first session, Vikram?
Sure. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Good evening. So, as you have rightly mentioned, AI is a critical part of whatever solutions we are developing, and that is not going to change as we go along. Not only for us, but for most of the companies, AI is a boon. It has helped us build solutions faster. It has helped us do things which are earlier not possible. Obviously, there are challenges with AI. There are risks involved with AI, and those risks are something that we need to mitigate. For example, when we are working with industrial partners, when we are developing a solution for industrial safety for our customers, so one of the major challenges that we have seen on the site is around how do we handle the data. So, for example, how do we ensure the data that we are getting from the site is managed properly? Because most of our customers, they don't want the data to go out into the open, right? So they don't want the data to be used apart from the system that we are providing. Apart from that, they don't want us to use the data anywhere else. So that is one of the key challenges that we are trying to work on. So that's where all these like having proper NDAs, having proper legal frameworks around it becomes very important. Apart from that, in our solution itself, when we deploy our solutions, basically we deploy video analytics software on the cameras which are already there on the site. So we use AI to monitor what kind of activities are happening on the ground, right? So that again is something that is very critical kind of an activity where we monitor the whether the implementation of the standards on the ground are proper or not. For example, if they have a process which is doing certain activity on the ground, how can we ensure that they are following the process or not? So it can be ranging from various things, starting with safety, then we go on to maintenance, then we go on to different roles inside the organization itself. So everywhere the compliance to standards is becoming more and more important. And with the help of AI, the whole process can be done digitally, which adds a lot of value, which helps the companies to monitor their people in real time, which was earlier not possible. And without the help of AI, without doing it in real time, it would have been very hard for any company to monitor its workforce 24/7 in all the possible locations. Manually, it is not possible to do it. So that's why AI is a boon. And if we properly monitor and if we properly use the tool, whatever it is AI built tools that we are using, I'm sure there is a huge scope for growth for our kind of solutions that we are building.
Thank you, Vikram. So I think we'll come back to you in the next round. Before that, we'll move to Sanjay. Sanjay, good to see you. Okay, so you have got multiple caps, and you are a journalist for a very long time, and then worked with various channels and also newspapers, and also including New York Times. So basically, the first perspective which we would like to know is how you are seeing that more from the journalist perspective. Okay, the impact of AI, one, on the job of a journalist itself. Second is what happens, because we keep reading a lot of news in the daily basis. Some of them are fake, some of them good, some of them are not correct, so on and so forth. So can you throw your views on this, Sanjay?
You're muted, Sanjay, you're muted.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, clear. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for inviting me to give a talk here. So I see, as a small correction. I haven't actually written for New York Times. It was New York Post. They sound similar, but New York Post is also a very well-known newspaper in US. So my expertise is like I have been, I started my career. I have seen, those days had to apply for and wait for months and years, uh, and then they would get the connection to mobile to, the video conferencing that we are doing, and now AI has come into the picture. So from print to AI, there is quite a journey that has happened in the last 20 years. And what is happening with AI is, it's changing the complete landscape as far as journalism is concerned. So, with what happened with social media, like earlier you had established media organizations, conventional media, that there was some checks and balances, that will be there. But with the advent of social media, everybody became a journalist, and then it started fake news and other things started to come into the picture. There's also a positive side that it broke the monopoly of the conventional media, which sometimes aligns to an ideology or maybe a school of thought, and tends to ignore the other. So while it brought in democratized the news thing, it also created for fake news. Fake news started even before AI came into the picture. But with AI, it has become so difficult to understand whether a news is fake or not. It's just completely like you will be like, even if you are a very cautious person, loves to cross-check, verify, and re-verify before sharing a thing. You would be completely, taken aback by this. For example, in the run-up to the Lok Sabha elections, there was a doctored video of Home Minister Amit Shah, which was spread, particularly in UP, where BJP saw a massive setback. He was saying that nobody can take away the SC/ST reservation, but using AI, these guys edited it and circulated it, and it went on undetected for months. And nowadays the news reaches people's mobile phones, and it created a narrative that if BJP came to power, they'll change the constitution. So this is a major thing that journalism per se, and the media industry per se, is facing. Obviously, with the inclusion of AI into the day-to-day news, agenda and news preparation thing, it has made journalists, so to say, very vulnerable. They are very, like I have had friends who lost jobs after AI came into the picture, because the publications thought they can get the research done using AI, and can hire, maybe somebody fresher or with initial 1 or 2 year or 3 years experience, and they can do the cost cutting and stuff like that. So if there are problems of deep fakes, obviously there's fear of job loss. You might have seen that this there used to be a weather report, Aztak or somewhere. So this has been taken by an AI avatar. Now that job, whoever was doing it earlier, is gone. So there is, problem. However, it also, empowers people who are working solo, have a small team. They can't afford to have a lot of people. Like I, now that I have my own, news agency and I work on that. So whenever I want to do content in my own capacity as an individual journalist to give an opinion on certain things, so I use AI, okay, to be able to kind of do quick research on things, and then I validate it as part of my training, because AI sometimes can be very biased. For example, if you just check, go to any AI platform and ask them to write a joke about Jesus Christ, and it will say that we will not entertain such jokes. But ask them to tell a joke about Krishna, it will tell. So this is also there, in the AI thing. So we kind of get over that thing. And misinformation is something, using AI, people can get into misinformation and disinformation business, which can actually create a lot of law and order issues in the country. It can also affect businesses in a big way. So on that note, if you have any question, I'll be happy to take those questions as to how it is, AI is affecting journalism and affecting its trustworthiness in the eyes of the common people.
Sanjay, we'll take questions towards the end. Actually, we'll move to the other panel, finish off all the rounds, and then possibly we'll take up questions towards the end. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the highlighting various aspects, and it's very, very interesting to listen to you. Now we'll move to Jayant. Jayant basically is he's one of the he runs an organization which is actually into Gen AI for last 2-3 years. We've been start hearing about Gen AI from the maybe last year onwards, but his work actually spans last 2-3 years. And then what Jayant, basically the question to you is, see, we keep hearing about LLMs, and then somebody's talking about small model, large model, somebody's talking about pre-training, post-training. So can you just highlight all these things more from the infrastructure perspective? Basically, how do we really ensure that we don't lose all our energy towards entire AI? How do we conserve the energy as well as do a reasonably good solution to customers or users using Gen AI? Leave it to you.
Sure, Jay. Thanks. Yeah, my domain is mainly solving business problems using generative AI. So yeah, we have been working in this space for last 3 years, and there are a lot of learnings, and also we have learned a lot of common mistakes or pitfalls, and I'll definitely shed some light on how we can think about LLMs as well as all these different approaches like pre-training versus fine-tuning versus RAG. How do we decide what's best suited? So first of all, using LLMs is expensive. It's slow. It's probably takes 1,000 times, 100 to 1,000 times more expensive than using computation. So we need to, first of all, use it carefully. So not because LLMs can solve a lot of problem. Even if you want to do calculation, you can actually ask the question to ChatGPT. But is that the most energy efficient or cost efficient? The answer is no. Same thing in business. When we decide when to use LLM, we need to make sure that the alternatives aren't really there. Like you cannot solve the problem computationally, algorithmically, and things like that. And the only way you solve problem today is by using people. And people are again 1,000 times, maybe 100 to 1,000 times more expensive and slower compared to LLM. So it does justify use of LLM there. Now coming to the second part, which is like, okay, how do we decide then which approach to use? Should we pre-train model? Will it solve the problem? Should we fine tune and things like that? So the best way to look at it is like pre-training or fine tuning. They're generally called like a closed book approaches, which means you train them in advance. before you actually ask the question, but it's like how we write tests in schools and colleges. Like we train for the year, and then on the day of exam, we don't have access to book or reference material. We have to actually remember from our memory and give answer. And therefore, the accuracy drops, which is what is called as hallucination. Just like human memory, AI memory is fragile, so they don't remember things correctly. And therefore, the challenge of hallucination, accuracy, and all comes up. But the good news is that there are alternative approaches, which are called open book approaches, which means when you ask the question, AI, you can actually let AI look at reference material. And just like us, when we look at a book, when answering, we can actually recite the same information without making much mistakes. AI does the same, and the accuracy improves dramatically. And that is usually the technique we use in business. The simplest form is called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. But these days we use much more advanced techniques where the retrieval itself is generated. So generative retrieval augmented summarization rather than generation, because generation actually again is open to hallucination. So we actually use AI more often to discover knowledge than to actually generate new content. That's the domain of business, because we want accuracy, we want solution that actually give reliable answers. So general tendency is to actually not use pre-training or fine-tuning, but use some way of in-context learning or retrieval augmentation, because that is one cost-effective and does not consume as much energy as, let's say, pre-training would require. And Jay Kumar sir actually showed like how expensive it is to get it trained, but expensive not just in terms of cost, but also CO2 cost from carbon footprint point of view. And so there are these strategies that we use. For example, avoid fine-tuning or pre-training at all cost. And even when you need to do it as a latter part of the game or the solution building. So when you know that you have all the right kind of data, it is tracked properly, curated properly, you are getting the accuracy that you desire. Now you want to further fine tune or improve the latency or improve the cost or token consumption. Then we go for fine tuning. We never start from fine tuning. So these are some of the techniques. I hope that answers your question, Jay.
Yes, I think, Jayant. But can you also just highlight what we call the small model? See, basically, people feel that when you use a small model, I am a small guy. Big model, a large model is a large guy. So am I losing anything by using small models? And is it really worthwhile using a small model?
Right. Yeah, that's a very good question. So see, what happened in the journey of this LLM development is that there was research, and what is found that as the model grew, they improved the accuracy of answer, the quality of answers, and things like that. So the tendency of industry has been to use larger model so that you get answers that are better. But that's not a approach that as a business we advise or advocate, because the reason is that majority of the problems or the question that you ask LLM do not require large models. You can actually very well solve those questions with a smaller model. And again, my reference point is we are solving problem for businesses, and the business works on limited data, and you don't really need really large model for majority of the use case. I would say 95% plus use cases can be solved with smaller models. So, and the smaller models are efficient, they're cost effective, and of course, you need to actually make the smaller model work for the domain that you are working on. And you have a lot of techniques at hand. You can again do some fine tuning, but predominantly doing a proper retrieval augmentation. You can actually make smaller models work as good, if not better, than the larger model. And you can always have like some getting like you don't get required quality using smaller model. You can decide to actually only for selective use cases go for the larger model. And second part is again the infrastructure. So the usual tendency is to actually go with this cloud source OpenAI kind of models. But when we build solution, we tend to actually use smaller model on-prem infrastructure. So that way we contain the cost, but we also make sure that the solution is as green as possible, as sustainable as possible. And only at exceptional scenarios, we go and use, let's say, GPT-4, which is a much, much better model only for certain use cases. So such strategy is very important when you're designing solutions for business.
Thank you, Jayawat. So now we'll go back to Vikram. So Vikram, you mentioned a lot about incorporating safety aspects in the complete manufacturing process, building SOPs. See, we also have a challenge, right? Building safety or the security of the data part. Okay, like how to really ensure that your IPR, basically, like Sanjay was also talking about, basically somebody's knowledge is getting stolen, as well as some data, crucial data, like we talked about healthcare. So much data which is a part of the system which goes into training or test data. How do we ensure that these things are protected so that our infrastructure is robust and secure?
Right. Regarding data, so there is a lot of debate going on. There are a lot of court cases that are going on right now in the US as well, which are trying to figure out how the data has to be managed. So let me give you an example. So there are a lot of artists who are building a lot of music. There are a lot of artists who are building a lot of paintings. Uh, Most of the LLM models are trained on open source data which is available on the internet. All their songs, all their material is out in the open, and they are using that to train the models, right? But is it legal? Is it something that there is a term called fair use doctrine, which allows some part of it to be used, but is it commercially deployable, or can it be used for a commercial kind of a model? So these are some things which are currently under review. So there are a lot of legal cases going on in the US. I think in India also there are certain legal cases which are going on around it. So there is going to be a lot of debate, and I think within a couple of years we should have some clarity on what kind of models can be used, what kind of data can be used, and what kind of data cannot be used. There has been some steps that other companies have also taken. So like stability diffusion, which is one of the leading model for image generation. So what they are doing is they are asking artists to opt out of using their data in training. So from the next generation of models, they will not use the data for the artists who are already opting out for it. But then again, it is like a artist has to actively look for such opportunities. Like they have to go to their site and register and say that, okay, I don't want my data to be used for that. So that is again something that has to be looked into. In our case, primarily because we work with industries, a lot of the data that we are using is coming from the industries for training our model, because we cannot build our solution just on the basis of public models, because a lot of things which are inside the factories do not come out readily available in the public domain. So in our case, it becomes very, very important for us to have a proper safety for the data that we are using for training, to ensure that it does not leak out. Also, when we train the model, when we deploy the model, how do we, when we detect something, right? So how do we ensure that that data is reaching to the client? There is a lot of discussion going on data security, how the AI model which is deployed on the site or on the premise, how does that work? So in our case, what we have is we have two different modes. One is an on-premise model. So in the on-premise model, we normally deploy this complete solution on the premise, where the data does not go even to our servers. So we just deploy the solution, we train the model locally, and once the model is trained and running, then the system is operational from that point onwards. And the other solution is like we get some data from the client in a real-time manner, we train our model on the cloud, and once the model is trained, then we just leave the solution at it as it is. The other solution would be the cloud-based modeling solution, which again, as I said, none of the companies that we are dealing with are interested in that, because of all the issues that they have regarding the data security part. So as I said, this is a thing that we as an organization, and also we as a community are debating it. There is a lot of debates, and and because the courts are already involved, I'm sure within a few years we should get some answers about it.
Yes, thank you, Vikram. So basically, I just want to also check up. So you said that you're using customers' data also to train. Okay. Uh, once you train that model, is that model used only for that particular customer, or can that be generalized and used for others? How do you really approach that?
So normally we put, when we write some kind of an NDA with the client or some kind of a contract with the client, we say that the model, once we are training, that particular data can be model can be used for other customers as well. Because once the model is trained on their data, it's not like we are going to not use that model. It's a generic model that is deployed across different plants. So that is part of the discussion that we have with the client before we get the order. So that is something that we personally would argue for. There are companies who don't want that, but then we give them a different pricing. So it's a way to counter that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. Now we'll move on to Sanjay. So Sanjay, in his the current avatar as entrepreneur, and he has actually got into developing an AI-based app for a very interesting, I mean, medical. It's basically for the healthcare sector, where he is actually, all his experiences of bad food that he's trying to put it and then ensure that this app really provides, brings everybody together. Okay, there is. Can you just throw light on that, Sanjay? You are on the mute there.
Okay. I am the co-founder of Medicash, which provides an emergency medical loan to patients, and we are working on a no-cost model where people who don't have insurance coverage, they can also apply for this loan, and they can get it within 2 hours. So what we are now using little bit of AI, which is like people entering their details. There's a chatbot and all that. But I have a vision that I see. I come from a very remote part of India, a small town in Jharkhand, which is which is very close to Bangladesh border. Now it's like if I have to go to my hometown, I'll just tell you a small story so that we are journalists, so we keep telling stories. So once I was returning from Spain, so from Spain to Delhi, I came in 7 hours. From Delhi to Kolkata, it took me 3 hours. And from Kolkata to my hometown, which is 350 kilometers, I took a bus. The bus broke down midway. I had to take a what do you call it, truck, get on a truck, and that truck took me to another place. Then I had to take a trekker, and from there to my place, a rickshaw. So that's how difficult it is. Now it's just not it is if you are coming from a very remote background, accessibility is not the only problem that you are facing. You are actually subjected to financial racism. What happens is, like, since I started dabbling into fintech, I figured that there are so many pin codes that these banking institutions, they don't cover. For example, in my hometown there are only two banks, and there are those sahukars, the lenders, local lenders, who will charge you exorbitant rates and all that. So if I apply for a loan here in Bangalore, I'll get the loan. The same person with the same civil score, if he goes back to his hometown, he would not get a loan. Okay, so I'm trying to work on work with some people here, and if there are some people who can help me with this, it will be a great thing. We can actually bring in financial inclusion. Right now it is like financial racism at the smaller towns and tier 2 towns. Some 10 people do not pay on time, and a lakh people are made victim of it. All the banks, NBFCs, they blacklist that place, pin code. So this has to be, I have a vision that we can actually, using AI, instead of using the pin code, we use the individual's, what do you call it, transaction, history, or maybe, how much of travel he is doing, or whatever it is, like the credit is doing, right? We can do the same thing for village people. Everybody is not a thief. Everybody is not a defaulter. And this, I find, all this hue and cry about financial inclusion, 45 crore, accounts being opened, and unbanked, trying to get unbanked people banked and all that. So if something like this can be done, I'm not an expert, I'm not an AI expert either. I'm a journalist who has some idea, who always works on a social impact thing. I would love to collaborate with people who can help me, in this segment. This is like, if we do this, we are going to be catering to a lot of people, and saving them from the financial racism that is going on now.
Yes, wonderful, Sanjay. Wish you the best of luck to make sure that happens. Basically, you're trying to remove the bias in the data. Okay, so there are proven ways and models. I think that can be used. It's good, but it's very heartening to note that you're working on for the underprivileged sector where the loans are typically rejected, but they are in the great need and they have a capacity. They are honest people, basically. Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you, Sanjay. So I'll move on to Jayant. Basically, in this segment, Jayant, what noise? You are also part of a very big IT organization which has got about 6,000 people. So, and any IT organization like yours use Gen AI and other AI for internal productivity purpose. So, can you just talk to us about how do you ensure that when your internal use of IT, I mean internal use of AI for your own internal purpose, how do you ensure that your green goals and carbon things like are protected? What sort of methods or practices you have so that we deliver your customer result at the lowest use of energy or so?
Sure. Okay. So internally, how actually we use GenAI. So as you pointed out earlier, like we started GenAI more than 3 years ago. So the first project actually was very interesting because in one of the earlier presentation, it was referred as using GenAI for drug discovery. So that's actually for one of the European customer. We built solution using LLM to accelerate drug discovery. And that was more than 3 years ago. And since then, we have been developing several solutions, both internal and for external customers, in numerous POCs, maybe 100 plus POCs we have developed so far. And initially, of course, there were GPT-3 available, so we didn't have much choice. But then few more models appeared on the scene. But and we were using those for many of our POCs. And it was kind of expensive, not that as much, but 1 month we found that actually it costed us significantly, probably 5 to 10 times more than what we were expected. And it found out that one developer forgot to actually put a limit on how many historical messages that needs to go in the context. And we realized that we consumed far too much money in using the tokens. And then we started looking for alternatives, like, okay, this is not sustainable because the number of projects we started working on were growing. So that's when we got some hardware, which took few months to get access to those GPUs because they were so much high in demand and so on. But eventually we got our own environment set up and started experimenting with smaller models and things like that. And today what happened is that became like our default. I also touched this point earlier that we always preferred smallest model actually that can solve your problem. That should be the philosophy, and that's what generally we then started with. And this allowed us at least that freedom from, okay, how much it's going to cost in terms of tokens and things like that. So it's much more relaxing in that way to know that we are not paying any OPEX. Of course, there are limitations. We have to do throttling and things like that. But at least internally, for all our pilots that we do for our clients, majority of even use cases that we do for clients, as well as all our internal work, plus the access that we give to almost our 5 to 6,000 internal teams who can actually use some of the solution that we built to analyze code, for example, and things like that. They use in-house models built on local infrastructure, and that today has become norm, so much so that we actually require approval if somebody wants to use OpenAI like GPT-4, they have to specify reason, and only when we approve, they can connect. So we have actually infrastructure that can switch between different models. So we have 3-4 models that we are using for various use cases. One for, let's say, structured data, another one to analyze code, But if you want to actually use external closed source model, they need approval. So that is the philosophy and policy that we have been using for last few months, and that generally we recommend to our clients as well. So we also got the solution, which is like a infrastructure plus smaller model and some layer of software with knowledge graph, because I have seen one of the earlier presentation use that, because that is the combination we have found to be very productive for majority of the business use cases, and we offer that as like an appliance to our client. So that is generally we recommend for internal large scale usage, because you need to be conscious of both price as well as sustainability.
Okay, thank you, Jayant. I think we have done 2 rounds. Now let me share some of my thoughts on this conclusive part. And then if there are any questions, possibly we will again revisit. Um, so I think what I'm seeing that as a conclusion as well as the going forward, like for example, I mean, taking the last point which Jayant mentioned, okay, can we have a common platform, okay, whether it is on the cloud or on premise for the AI developers and consumers. Basically, it's everybody having their own platform, or each one going to Gen AI sort of things, actually basically killing the earth very quickly. Similarly, there are common development of regional domain. See, for example, if you want a model, okay, everybody develops the same model at a different places. It's a waste of energy, human effort. So if you have a common domain models, whether region specific or domain specific, that could be a great way so that you can adopt the model and then improve upon if it's required. So that's something which is going forward. And quality and the data is very important. I think mentioned by the healthcare doctor. I think Madan Gopal, they were mentioning about common data available for healthcare sector. Okay, so that's very, very interesting aspect. That's another major problem for us. Data getting replicated everywhere, and then huge that the cost is very, very high, because we are talking about big data. And open source. See, open source is the way forward, because everybody trying to write the same algorithm a number of times is not really productive enough. Second is basically things are available. Okay, you can take it and improve upon if it's required and contribute to the open source. I think that should be the way forward, so that the efforts are minimized. It's like a reusability. We used to talk about reusable code and things like that and back. So now it's basically reusable algorithm. The algorithms are contributed by the common public. So you also consume, you also contribute. That's a way to go forward, so that unnecessary effort is not wasted. And responsible AI, safe and trusted. This is very, very important in the computing infrastructure. And there were questions related to how can I trust and things like that. So there are today, you're talking about tools available where you can check the bias in the system. Okay, whether the system can it explain the results? Because AIs are treated as a black box. A question goes, answer comes out. So what happens inside? How would the inputs are correlated to output? So there are certain algorithms which are available by which you can actually test an AI application to see whether there is an explainability, or what are the parameters, what are the features that contribute to the result. So this has to be part and parcel of the infrastructure. And society and industry as a stakeholder, basically that's very important. And I think, as mentioned by various speakers, employability, reskilling, because the entire landscape is going to change. There will be job shifting scenarios, no doubt about it. So we need to prepare ourselves, I think, in academia, and also your madam asking about the question related to TUV. Basically, even the assessor, they themselves need to be reskilled, so that they can look at the AI when they go for ISO 9000 audit. Can you look at it from the AI perspective? They need to have knowledge on all this safe, trusted, responsible AI, explainability, and things like that. So they need to be trained so that their jobs are protected. Okay. Similarly, at every scenarios, like journalist, we saw that. So this is going to be part of the infrastructure. So what I see is India is already in this direction as a part of India AI mission. They actually have a very large goals to attain this. And recently, what I read is India AI database dataset platform is going to come by January 2025 as a part of National E-Governance Division. So there are a lot of developments that are happening. towards what we spoke in this panel. Various views were expressed by panel speakers. I think there are some solutions and one way forward. I think India is also trying to get into this direction. So I think we are in the right way. If we can implement this, we can make sure that SDG 9 goals can be attained. Basically, innovation in the infrastructure with which can actually thrive as well as consume lesser energy. This is what basically I'm trying to conclude. We will go to question and answer, but let me for that thank the fellow panelists, and I hand over to Rama Madam for any further interactions that are required. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaykumar and the panelists Vikram, Sanjay, and Jayvanji for the interesting insights, the wonderful takeaways. In fact, even all of us are waiting to see the launch of India AI. And so what is it that the country is going to build? And because this is not building something for us, for our communities, and we need to build something for the global community. So when the global markets, global communities look at us, brand India, they should have that assurance, they should have that trust. Even globally, AI lacks the trust factor. And there's intense competition, trade frictions, this is what, thanks to social media, we get to know what's happening around the world. I personally feel as a country, we have slightly a different DNA. And we always try to look at creating that positive social impact in whatever we are trying to do and whatever we are trying to build. And too much of, yes, of course, businesses are here to build wealth creation or balance sheets. Nobody is disputing all that. But, sorry. Excuse me, hello. Can I request the delegates to mute their audio? Aarti? Yeah, thank you. So when the global markets are looking at us, as I go back and say that the Qualcomm statement yesterday, which was made last night, that India is the market which has the immense talent pool of STEM, talent pool and engineers, good, bad or ugly, we have that in abundance. So how are we going to mold them and use them to deliver some good solutions which will have a positive impact? Education is something everybody needs. Healthcare is something everybody needs. So are various other products or services. So we have that responsibility to build, develop all these things. A lot of upskilling is required. That action plan shown by Mr. Jaykumar is very good. And maybe that's what we need to start working towards all this, because AI is here to stay. And it is that fusion of human intelligence and artificial intelligence, which is actually going to make that real good impact. AI is not going to replace human intelligence, or human intelligence cannot ignore artificial intelligence. The combination, the fusion is what the markets need. And I think as a country, we can do something for our communities, for our society, because the basic essentials need to be met. Using smart technologies will help us. The whole purpose of the global focus on sustainable development goals, and even something like coming out with themes like this is to bring that focus into the global markets. The way the advanced economies operate, emerging markets operate are totally different. And in fact, the opportunities are plenty in the emerging markets now. The competencies and capabilities are in abundance in the emerging markets than the advanced markets and economies. So the whole purpose of creating all this multi-stakeholders conversation is try to get your different views and different thought processes. There are a lot of key takeaways for us, and I just would like to thank all the speakers for joining us today. Some enriching conversations we had, and we will also compile key takeaways from this. We will start. Suhasji, can you mute yourself, please? Because there's a lot of noise in the background. Yeah. Sorry. So we will try to share this takeaways with the stakeholders at the market, and please keep joining us for the future conversations. As and when the theme suits, some topic suits, we will invite you. And there's a lot of efforts that have gone into designing this. In fact, Mr. Suhas Agawani, who's a fellow consultant who did actually a lot of work on this. Unfortunately, today he had an emergency travel plan, and that is why he couldn't anchor the session, host the session. And we thank our mentor, Mr. Anil Jowri, who's our mentor and who's very instrumental in kind of, bringing many speakers on board and then, try to bring these different perspectives. Audience, all the delegates, most often they keep visiting us regularly for all sessions. And those who couldn't join us, also they visit all these things online. And we keep sharing the recordings also with everybody. Let us see what best we can do collectively. That's what, as I said, collectively, even we as consultants are stakeholders here in whatever small way that we can contribute, because we are here. We work with standards, we work with certifications, we work with regulations. When we need to be upskilled in the process, certain things go above our head. So it's all interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary focus that we have to build in building all the solutions. So we would like to thank all of you once again, and and to the wonderful audience. So that's it. We've come to the fag end of the session. Let us close the session. Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Actually, I've not seen anything in the chat box. I'm sorry.
There is one question. Sorry.
Yeah, please. Can you please? Yeah, if there's a question, we will address it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a question from Matthew. Let me just have a look at chat. Maybe.
I saw just a second in the chat.
Yeah. Do you want me to read?
Yeah, can you please?
Okay,
Yeah.
so his question is, our country has 40 crore people that don't know read or write. We are saying about digital India, but how can we aware these people the benefits gets only to rich and educated? How we can bring this people on the move, on this move? So I think we got his sense. Anybody want to answer that?
I think, say, my take in this is today, I mean, you can talk, like, there are applications. You don't need to read and write. You can talk to an app, okay? There are apps where we can guide you and give a translation. So basically that the digital is not only text. Now, you know that now we are talking multi-modal. So it can be video, it can be audio. So any inputs it can be pressed. So initially it always talks with letters, text and things like that. I think it progresses towards inclusivity. That's we have so many apps now. That's my feeling. So that's we are improving upon that. That's my take. Jayant, you can.
So I agree with you. I think what you're essentially saying is that the disparity between the people who are sort of educated versus those who can't even read and write is there is an opportunity at least to get to reduce that using AI, because they no longer need to actually read or write. They can actually talk to an interface in a manner that they can speak, and written text can be generated or vice versa. They can actually read information from any language, just like we can even understand written in Japanese, even though we don't need Japanese, because that's what LLM do for us, to translate it into a language that we understand. For such people, they can actually read Japanese in a way now, because the Japanese can get translated into their mother tongue and can get spoken to them. So which means that there is a big opportunity for people who are otherwise are excluded from this English economy or educated economy. They can now get included because AI actually reduces the gap between this population to the market, because LLM actually feels that role of doing the translation into their mother tongue, into the manner that they would understand. So there is an opportunity. How to actually make use of it and materialize it, that's a different debate altogether, but I definitely see that there is a room.
I would like to add to that, when this UPI thing was being brought in, there was a lot of aspersion being cast as to how the illiterate people who do not know, unlettered people who do not know how to read and write and whatever it is, they don't know about the technology. But you see, the biggest beneficiary of this UPI thing is actually the guy who sells me tender coconut during my morning cycling sessions. So it is like, as sir rightly said, Jay Kumar sir, that now it is not about writing. You can speak, and speaking is, I think, is a very powerful medium, whatever you want to convey, you don't need to be an literate or illiterate to be able to speak, and the system understands it and responds to it. So this illiteracy and literacy, digital, when you talk about digital India, it actually bridges that gap. That's my way of looking at it.
Agree.
So I have a little bit contrary view on this, if I can add.
Yeah, sure.
So I believe we need to be a little bit careful. AI is a good tool. Right now we are talking about LLMs, but LLMs are not the end of the world, right? So in the few years we are going to get a lot of more development happening, and there are definitely going to be things which are going to bring a lot of change into the society. So there is a concept of universal income that is being propped up, which is like everybody should get some basic income, uh, regardless of whether they are doing any work or not, right? So these are some of the concepts that I think we need to discuss, and it's not something that we can just say that AI is going to solve. AI is going to change the world to a large extent. There are a lot of like right now it is automating top-notch jobs, like top coders are getting replaced with AI. Soon time will come when the lower end jobs will also start getting automated, and that is going to bring a lot of change into the society. So it's not something that we can directly say that AI is always going to be good. We need to have a good regulations, and I think that's where the standards have to be met. They have to be ahead of the curve to some extent. Like before the changes happen, we have to control it. Otherwise, if we think about only bringing in technology to just for the sake of bringing in technology, things can go wrong very soon. That is my take. I I don't know if I feel that might be one of the major potholes of bringing AI into the domain.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily contradictory what you said. I think both sides exist and both sides will continue. So there are some beneficial aspect as well as there are some risk and danger, and both will coexist. So I
Would
totally
like
agree
to
with your
add,
points on that.
I just would like to add here, one of the recent sessions for the school children that we do STEM entrepreneurship for the school children in Chennai. One of the sessions on the classroom conversations about their entrepreneurial aspirations, I was a little surprised. This was attended by 6th standard to 8th standard students. What is your business idea? The classroom is two things which I really found interesting. A guy said, I want to build an AI hospital. Okay. So then I told him, your wish is granted. The very next week, China has announced it, AI hospital in China. The other guy said, I want to build a business which focuses on building regulatory rule engines. I said, what is it? So he said, this is very much needed. AI means all is not well. So we need, because when Vikram was talking about regulations, this has taken me back there. So he said, we need focus on building regulatory rule engines and this is what actually going to throw up the risk alert and do all those things. See, that is how the young minds are also working. Even they are not convinced. In 6th standard to 8th standard, they are not convinced. And they feel that AI is going to do more harm than good. So this is how it is. And very interesting insights. Actually, I missed that question. I'm sorry. And I also personally feel, again, going back to that question, voice to you said somebody cannot read, you use voice, but issue is about educating them. That is where issue is. So maybe something like Sanjay Pandey has to collaborate with Jaivan Deshpande, come out with. So somebody is into microfinance, going to the rural community and coming out with those small notes, or Vikram, like that's a collaborative. The issue here is any number of tools are there, you know that, but how do they know? So that education is what mass education is very, very critical. All the technologies, all this are only surrounding around urban market. All are competing in the urban market. Beyond that, nobody looks at it. Simple WhatsApp based can somebody build, because smartphone and WhatsApp is something everybody has. So can we build more such things in and around that? Somebody can use it easily, even your educational tools for that matter. That's all I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say from my side.
I agree. A lot of things are
I
already
have one
happening.
question.
Yeah, please.
Shall I ask?
Yeah, Surajji. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, you can ask any of the panelists when you talk about the sustainability use of the AI, especially those AI models which are for the public consumption. How this ecosystem this can make the public aware about the sustainable use of the AI. That means wherever it has to be used, it has to be used. Wherever the simple things needs to be done by some traditional method, needs to be done by the traditional method. Are there any kind of ecosystem there, or is there are any developments happening? Hello.
Yeah. Yes. Was this question audible?
Shall I repeat it?
No, actually your voice is breaking. Yeah, Suhasji. Yes, please.
That what I was asking for the AI, these are for the public consumption, for the general people to use, like Chat GPT. How the awareness about the sustainable use of the AI for the real AI intent is being spread? Is there any ecosystem getting developed to make the public users, make them aware about for what not to use the AI, for what to use the AI? That kind of a ecosystem or some efforts.
I got the question, but I think
I think my voice is not clear.
Yeah, but I think I understood the question. Your question is how do we, let's say, educate public at large when to use AI and when not to use AI? So that would be difficult to actually control that behavior. The best
Yeah.
way, I think, is for such companies, be it OpenAI or Google, they need to introspect, but I'm sure they are actually, and they're already working on it to make sure that not everything get asked to, let's say, ChatGPT. It doesn't need to be answered via ChatGPT or doesn't need to be answered by boiling the ocean. There might be a cheaper route that they take, and I think their latest model, even though they don't now disclose exactly how they are structured, but making use of that. So because it's in their interest
Yeah.
to consume
Because the
least
people
amount
are
of
using the
energy.
AI models to write a new application also nowadays.
Right. So I think they are already probably working on it, but it would be difficult to control people's behavior. However, at businesses, there needs to be some awareness and education in order to use AI in more sustainable manner, which is things like don't unnecessarily create your own model thinking that your business or your domain is very specialized. Something, for example, that JP Morgan did. You can always use some existing models and actually fine tune them at lower cost or provide knowledge base that is both real time but at the same time very cost effective. So there are alternatives that businesses needs to be more aware of than public, and the applications should be smart enough to take the least carbon footprint path. I think that is something that all sensible businesses needs to keep in mind.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yes, no, basically, I think that's what Jack basically said. See, as far as the business is concerned, we are trying to do that, enterprises. But when it goes to consumer, I feel that to be built in as a part of AI itself. For example, no, I mean, let's say that a child asks a teacher a question. Okay, teacher say that she does not answer. Go and read the book. So similarly, the tool, AI tool can say that, no, this you don't need to come to AI for this, do something else. I'm just saying that most of the transparency aspects of AI is to create awareness of the consequence of using that. That's one of the regulatory controls in the EU Act as well. Okay. That's my thought. Yeah.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, can we wind up the session, please? Because we have already overrun the time schedules, but I must thank all the speakers for staying back, and though there was a delay in between, right? So I think any other questions? I saw something in the chat box, nothing. So anyhow, that's it. So we can wind up the session. Thank you so much. Thank you once again. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.